Chapter 108. Kneel and admit your wrongs to my daughter. When Lu Mu Bai stretched out his hand to draw his sword, and when Yi Qin Han and the leading sword monarch powerhouse of the Ling clan was about to step up to speak, Lan Si suddenly walked in front of Lu Mu Yen. Senior Exon, Lu Mu Yen is a student of our Empire Academy and even one of the elites of the younger generation of our Yanzhou kingdom. She is relatively young and impulsive, so if there is any offense, I ask that senior excuses and forgives and not fuss over this with this junior. Then he flicked his sleeves lightly and an invisible wave dissolved the last bit of pressure that enveloped Lu Mu Yen. His handsome and elegant face still carried with it a gentleness, appearing as if a jade-like gentleman. Except the forcefulness his words carried couldn't be ignored. Lu Mu Yen shouldn't tolerate having the sword sovereign of the Xen clan teach her a lesson. Although Yanzhou Kingdom wasn't as strong as the overall strength of the 10 distinguished clans, but their foundation wasn't weak at all. The sword's sovereign powerhouse of the Imperial family wasn't just a little bit stronger than Xen Bo Jian. As soon as Lan Si appeared, Lu Mu Yen felt the taste of blood in her chest dissipate. She was a little surprised inwardly. What did this fox want to do? Suddenly, the gentle voice of a male, like spring water, sounded in her sea of consciousness. I'll take care of this matter. Lu Mu Yen was naturally not afraid of Xen Bo Jian. Although she was only a sword spirit after she established her foundation, but her strength was actually equivalent to a peak phase sword king, and her spiritual energy was even richer and purer. She even had countless methods, plus Mo Yan's secret skill, so although yes, she couldn't beat Xen Bo Jian, but it was possible to escape from his grasp. It was just that if they really had to walk until that point, she and Mo Yan would have to pay some prices. Now that Lan Si stepped up, she wouldn't be foolish and let emotions affect her decision, so she replied with an "all right," then stood behind Lan Si and watched quietly for any changes. "Lan boy, are you threatening me with Yanzhou Kingdom?" Xen Bo Jian's expression wasn't very good, and his voice was cold. Lan Si was neither humble nor haughty as he smiled handsomely and elegantly like the spring breeze and said, "This junior does not dare." But before we came to the glacial mountain range, the Emperor and Imperial teacher ordered this one to take care of Lu Mu Yen, not allowing any accidents to occur to her, so this junior could only thicken my face and request senior to give some face. He didn't think that Lu Mu Yen did anything wrong. From the very beginning it was the young miss from the Xen clan that was aggressive and pressing. To think this sword sovereign powerhouse wasn't embarrassed to involve himself in the situation between the younger generation, Lan Si sure felt like he lost face for him. If Xen Bo Jian didn't give face, then he could only tear apart all pretenses. Lu Mu Yen wasn't just the granddaughter of the Ling clan's patriarch but also a trial student of Yanzhou Kingdom. Plus, he also had some selfish motives, so as long as he was here, he'd definitely protect her. I need to give a young boy who had only recently advanced to Sword Monarch some face? No wonder the students of your Empire Academy are so wild. It turned out that they were all like your principal, being taught verbally and by example. Before advancing to a sword sovereign, Xen Bo Jian had a deep grudge against Yuan Li, and even had a sense of hatred towards the entire Empire Academy of Yanzhou Kingdom because of it. So towards Lan Si, who was also a teacher of the Empire Academy, he also disliked. And Lu Mu Yen wasn't only a student of Yuan Li's academy, but also a part of the Ling clan, their enemy they want to eradicate. That's why today he would lower himself and use his daughter's words to take advantage of the situation and humiliate Lu Mu Yen. As such, he could not only slap Yuan Li's face, but also let the Ling clan lose face together. Originally he thought that Lu Mu Yen, that little junior, would definitely be forced to subdue. Then he'll let her bow and apologize to his daughter in public, humiliating the Ling clan as well, but he didn't expect that this stinky girl was a person who knew no fear and was an exceptionally arrogant tough bone. The fact that Lu Mu Yen refused to lower her head and even spoke with ridicule not only let him not achieve hitting Yuan Li and Ling clan's face, but actually allowed someone to say that he, a sword sovereign, oppressed the weak. This feeling of being confronted and counterslapped in the face by a junior truly made him angry. He was precisely oppressing the weak, but what can anyone do to him? The most important thing was that there was an intuition deep in his heart that he must not let go of Lu Mu Yen, this little junior, today. Otherwise there'd be endless troubles in the future. Lan Si's handsome and elegant face was also dyed with a bit of anger. If it weren't that his identity couldn't be easily exposed, he definitely would have torn Xen Bo Jian's body into thousands of pieces. Then what does Senior desire? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, in fact, we don't need to fight like this either. As long as the girl of the Lu clan kneels down to my daughter and admit her wrongs, then this matter will be over. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being courteous. Xen Bo Jian looked at Lan Si and Lu Mu Yen with belittling and despise. He really didn't put these two people at heart. An unprecedented storm was brewing in Lan Si's eyes, and the slender fingers under his sleeves were prepared to form seals. Lu Mu Yen sneered and said in an extremely arrogant manner, "Sure enough, both father and daughter all have mythomania. The upper beam is not straight, so the lower beam's crooked too. One. Make her kneel? What a huge joke. She, Lu Mu Yen, hasn't bowed down to anyone in her 2 lives. A puny Xen Bo Jian was worthy? She knew that whether she yielded or remained firm today, this sword sovereign from the Xen clan would still want to humiliate her regardless. If she really knelt and admitted her wrongs, not only could the Lu clan and Ling clan lose face, but from now on, she probably should never even bother thinking about advancing into the ranks of the strongest. Wow! Hearing such arrogant words from Lu Mu Yen, countless people couldn't help but be shocked and puzzled. Was it that this lunatic didn't want her life? You're courting death. Xen Bo Jian showed unprecedented killing intent in his eyes. His right hand formed hand seals, and a column of water tore through the air and turned into a blue Jiao dragon, whizzing towards Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yen raised her head and stared at the Jiao dragon formed by water elemental energy condensation. So this was strength displayed by a sword sovereign powerhouse? It was indeed condensed rather like a Jiao dragon, but it only looked like the real thing and wasn't one. Xen Bo Jian's water attribute elemental energy law was still far from being comprehended to perfection. Her gaze locked onto the roaring Jiao dragon that flew towards her as her 2 hands formed hand seals quickly in the air. Traces of fire elemental energy overflowed from her body, and she instantly became a flaming person. Roar! A fire dragon rushed out from behind her with thunderous momentum, raised its head in the air and roared. There were transparent jade runes that wound around the fire dragon, constantly circling the dragon's body, looking mysterious and unusual. The water Jiao dragon, with the elemental energy pressure of a sword sovereign powerhouse, wiped out everything in its way as lines upon lines of cracks formed, like autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves, directly attacking towards Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yan's eyes remained cold, and her face was still light like the wind and clouds as her slender, jade-like hands flipped a few times. Her lips spit out a word gently, "Go!" All one saw was the fire dragon whistle into the sky from behind her, as if stepping on clouds and mist. With a spin, it directly greeted the Jiao dragon. The one water, one fire elemental energy condensation of the 2 people stunned everyone. But everyone could all feel that in resemblance to the real thing, Lu Mu Yan's appeared to be closer. But it was a pity that due to the difference in cultivation base, in terms of the pressure and momentum, the fire dragon was still a lot weaker than the water Jiao. Lu Mu Yen never expected her own fire dragon, made from fire elemental energy condensation, could win that water Jiao. The difference in cultivation base was too big and simply couldn't be remedied. But she added the Azure Dragon token of the 4 symbols array into the condensed Fire Dragon. This was her real intent. She couldn't hurt Xen Bo Jian, but even if she was severely injured, she must take this blow. This was her Lu Mu Yan's pride. Boom boom. The blue Jiao Dragon and the scarlet Fire Dragon roared ferociously and bit towards each other's neck. One used to say that the person below behaves unworthily because those above them do precisely that. In this case, used to say that the daughter behaves so unworthily because her father behaves like that. Random side note. Man, Junjio Link drama was a fun watch. Maybe a 9 out of 10 for me, maybe even 10 out of 10. My view is obviously very subjective, and there definitely needs some suspension of disbelief when watching, but it's meant to be a fun, angstless watchimo. It actually feels like a drama that might follow the novel's plot quite closely because the situations that occur appear a lot in historical novels that I've read but hardly appear in actual drama, maybe because of that suspension of disbelief. And yet I love it so much. Especially a female lead who's actually intelligent and mentally strong. Man, but why is an intelligent and strong female, doesn't even have to be physically strong, that hard to adapt into K-drama? So many K-dramas have been butchered because of that. I never watch those. Now I wonder if Rookie Agent Rogue will be too dark/political/heavy for me? Zanilia Zhao's, Zhao Li Ying's, dramas are usually good, but there were some I didn't watch because the plot wasn't my cup of tea. Let's see how this goes. Chapter 109. Although defeated, but with honor when the two clashed, the power of the blue and red instantly burst into a dazzling light. The earth trembled and shook a few times as the overflowing power of the two swept across the surrounding area. Everyone quickly mobilized the double-layered defense of an elemental energy shield plus a defense-type magic treasure. Crack! The surrounding trees all collapsed, creating loud cracking noises. Lu Mu Yen started fixedly at the cluster of light in midair. The fire dragon gradually disappeared, and although the blue Jiao's color dimmed quite a bit, it still flew towards her with terrifying force, breaking through the red, foggy light without stopping. Most of the spiritual energy within her body was used for the fire elemental energy condensation. She could only use the remaining bit of spiritual energy to turn into a transparent circle of light to envelop herself. With a snap of her fingers, the jade runes on the fire dragon instantly rotated. A palm-sized jade-colored transparent azure dragon emerged from the disappearing fire dragon and arrived first in front of Lu Mu Yen at the speed of lightning. Boom boom. Although the jade-colored rune dragon was small, but the power that burst from within wasn't weaker than the previously condensed fire dragon. After a few loud blasts, the blue Jiao dragon and the jade-colored rune dragon both vanished into oblivion in this world. Piu! After all the light curtains dissipated, Lu Mu Yen spewed out a few mouthfuls of blood and her body was blown back by the blue Jiao dragon's remaining force. Yener! Mu Yen! Lu Mu Yen! Elder sister Mu Yen! Different voices sounded at the same time in anxiety and worry. Her feet kept sliding backwards and her waist-length black hair flew, unbridled. A few more mouthfuls of blood spurted out, then finally she stopped at around 100 meters away. She held her chest and stabilized her figure with a stream of blood flowing out of her lips. Her face remained unchanged as she raised her head, her eyes looking at Xen Bo Jian with endless coldness and said, "Today's blow, I took it. It will be returned 100 times in the future." The current her couldn't be considered fine. Her abdomen was churning with blood and force, obviously having suffered internal injuries. If it weren't that the flesh-refining skill was about to break through to the second layer and her bodice toughness was comparable to that of a Tier 5 demonic beast, she was afraid that a few ribs would be broken today. Ever since arriving at Tianling continent, it was the first time she had been in such a sorry state. But she didn't regret her behavior. What was there to fear? She didn't lose at all in this battle. From the battle with Xen Bo Jian earlier, she understood the strength of a sword sovereign and saw through the gap between herself and a sword sovereign powerhouse. Her desire to grow even stronger was burning fervently. Although Lu Mu Yen was injured at this time, but her imposing manner had not diminished the slightest. Instead, she unconsciously revealed a sense of dominance, of wildness and arrogance within this world, startling everyone. This woman was definitely a lunatic. She was already vomiting blood and was injured, yet she still dared to speak so harshly against Xen Bo Jian. But many people also acknowledged Lu Mu Yan's strength in their hearts. After all, one might well ask, who dared to take on a blow from a sword sovereign powerhouse at a sword spirit cultivation base? Although she was severely injured, but she was still like a snow plum, standing proudly in the snow, its delicate fragrance brightening one's eyes. Such courage was worthy of admiration. And her elemental energy condensation, along with the jade-colored rune dragon used later, also made many completely acknowledge her strength. Lu Muyen was not simply a useless vase that only looked good. For a long time now, she was no longer the trash that was once spoken of amongst people. The her today, although didn't have the strength to fight a sword sovereign, but she had an imposing manner no weaker than a sword sovereign powerhouse. The gap in cultivation base opened an insurmountable distance, but many people thought that she hadn't lost. Just from that one confrontation now, although Lu Muyen was defeated, it was with honor. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Exen Bo Jian obviously didn't expect that Lu Muyen would take on his water jiao made from elemental energy condensation. He didn't use all his strength just now, but he also used at least 6 or 7/10. What shocked him the most wasn't the fire dragon condensed from elemental energy, but the jade-colored rune dragon that emerged from the fire dragon. That rune dragon actually gave him a faint sense of danger. If Lu Muyen's cultivation base was comparable to his, or was at middle phase sword monarch cultivation base, in a battle like just now, he was afraid that he would inevitably be injured. This woman must not remain alive. This was the firm thought that rose in Exen Bo Jian's mind. Presumptuous, go die. Exen Bo Jian also disregarded the dignity of the strong. Provoked by Lu Muyen's words, a huge, dark blue sword appeared in his hand. He channeled 8 or 9/10 of elemental energy into it, then he swung hard. An even more violent and raging sword aura erupted, which was even stronger than the Jiao dragon made from water elemental energy condensation. The violent gust of wind, combined with a sword aura, headed directly towards Lu Muyen's forehead. Mo Yen. Lu Muyen rubbed the blood on her lips and looked at Exen Bo Jian raising his sword with coldness and indifference in her eyes. Mo Yan's eyes grew cold, and the pressure of a king-class demonic beast gradually spread out. When he was just about to use his innate talent to fight together with Lu Muyen, suddenly a sword aura that was not weaker than Exen Bo Jian's came from the side. Hoo! 2 sword auras clashed instantly, but unexpectedly, it didn't explode with any energy fluctuation. The sword aura that came from the side seemed to carry a power that contained the heaven and earth, instantly merging with Exen Bo Jian's sword aura, and then squeezed out from a small crack in space. Neither of the 2 sword auras affected the people present. Then the space rift that had been forcibly torn open quickly closed, and a voice came from Yi Qinghan's direction. Exen Bo Jian, that is enough. Don't lose the face of a sword sovereign powerhouse. At this moment, a handsome and beautiful silver-haired man suddenly appeared beside Yi Qinghan with a very gentle and soft smile on his face, as if he could pardon everything. Seeing that the crisis was temporarily resolved, Mo Yen immediately dissipated the king-class pressure that was about to take form, taking the chance when people weren't paying attention. The demonic energy that was churning inside his body returned to calmness. The hand seal that Lan Si was forming within his sleeves also instantly came to a stop. He calmed down and retracted the power in his Dan Tian that was about to open a layer of his seal. Yi Zhan. Exen Bo Jian looked at the person that arrived and his pupils constricted. Hearing Exen Bo Jian's voice, the eyes of all the people present turned to the silver-haired man in black clothes who just appeared. Yi Zhan, the youngest sword sovereign in the Yi clan and even among the 10 distinguished clans. At only 26, he had stepped into the ranks of a sword sovereign powerhouse and became the peerless genius of the 10 distinguished clans that was hard to find even in 100 years. His talent and strength, compared to the strongest talented elites of the other 3 regions on this continent, was only superior and not inferior. He was also the idol in the hearts of countless elite pupils of the 10 distinguished clans. Yi Zhan, are you going to intervene now? Exen Bo Jian's expression was fearfully grim. He didn't expect that Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinglu was actually able to invite Yi Zhan to help Lu Muyen. This man who was always wearing a tolerant and soft smile made Exen Bo Jian dislike him extremely. Although Yi Zhan, who had just passed 30, hadn't yet broken through sword sovereign to the next step, but even he couldn't see through the strength of this person. What made him most afraid was that Yi Zhan also had a tier 7 spirit pet at the transformation stage. If he went against Yi Zhan today, he definitely wouldn't be his opponent. The Lu clan's little girl saved my clan's Qinglu before, so you tell me whether I should make a move or not? Yi Zhan wore a smile on his face and his voice was as clear as spring water, but it made people feel a chill for no reason. "Little paternal uncle, why are you so slow?" Yi Qinglu was pleased to see Yi Zhan's face and complained with a tone as if acting spoilt. "Elder brother sent out a distress signal for ages already and you just arrived." "Humph, otherwise elder sister Mu Yen wouldn't be hurt by that old thing." "You girl, I came as soon as I received the signal." There was a hint of helplessness in Yi Zhan's eyes as he looked at the Yi clan siblings softly and lovingly. Chapter 110. Saved from the predicament. The appearance of Yi Zhan also made Lu Mubai and the others, as well as the sword monarchs of the Ling clan, feel relieved. "Yi Zhan, are you really going to meddle in other people's business today?" Xen Bo Jian's eyes were full of dark haziness. He originally wanted to kill Lu Mu Yen here today, so even if he returned from the glacial mountain range, it would be too late for the Ling clan and Lu clan to even complain. Except he completely didn't expect that Lu Mu Yen would save Yi Qinglu earlier, and there was also an unclear relationship between her and Yi Qinghan. Now that Yi Zhan appeared, it seemed that he wouldn't be able to kill her anymore. Yi Zhan nodded lightly. "Naturally. As a sword sovereign expert, why fuss with a little girl at sword spirit strength? This time, how about for the face of our Yi clan, you let it be?" It wasn't that it was impossible for Yi Zhan to insist and exert pressure on Xen Bo Jian to resolve this if he wanted to, but the birth of the heavenly frost golden crystal was imminent, and time didn't allow them to cause trouble again. Now he gave Xen Bo Jian a step to back down, but if this person still insisted on acting against Lu Mu Yen, then he could only use force to resolve it. The look in Xen Bo Jian's eyes were cloudy and uncertain, very cryptic. Then finally, he swept his gaze over Lu Mu Yen coldly and said, "All right. This time, I'll spare her life for the sake of the Yi clan's face. If there's another instance of this, I will definitely not hold back. As such, I thank Fourth Master Xen." Yi Zhan's tone was light, and he automatically ignored Xen Bo Jian's threatening words. With his temperament, if it were under normal circumstances, he wouldn't even talk nonsense with Xen Bo Jian. Xen Bo Jian was the most hopeless sword sovereign among the 10 distinguished clans. In the future, his cultivation base would probably stop at sword sovereign. But he felt that on Lu Mu Yen, there was a flourishing aura like the rising sun from the east in its early bloom, full of preserved energy ready for the future. After watching the battle just now, he came to a conclusion. How is this woman a fish in a pond? Upon greeting a storm, a dragon, she will become one. Lu Mu Yen lowered her eyes and concealed all the killing intent in them. The Xan clan was truly pushing people too hard. She would definitely make the Xan clan pay a heavy price in the future. "Dad!" Xan Yingxian couldn't help but yell out. Today was the perfect opportunity to get rid of Lu Mu Yen. Xen Bo Jian also had anger that was unable to be dispersed. But the current situation didn't allow him to directly confront Yi Zhan. Putting aside Yi Zhan's own extraordinary abilities, it wouldn't be worth offending the Yi clan just to kill a junior. "Shut up. Let's go." Xen Bo Jian glanced at Xen Yingxian coldly, preventing her from continuing to speak. Then he waved his hand and turned around, leaving the woods with the Xen clan. "I'll definitely have you die next time." Xen Yingxian stomped her foot. Before she left, she had turned around and looked at Lu Mu Yen viciously, then left unwillingly after leaving the harsh words. Lu Mu Yen sneered inwardly. "The next meeting, I'll definitely have you die too." She took out a bottle of pills for healing from her interspatial ring and poured it into her mouth. A coolness instantly spread all over her body, suppressing that painful heat in her chest quite a bit, and the churning state of her abdomen also stopped. She raised her head and looked at Yi Zhan, saying, "Thank you greatly, Senior, for helping me." She had her ways to escape without Yi Zhan, but she naturally owed a personal favor to this person since he acted. A faint smile rose on Yi Zhan's lips, and his voice was as sweet and cold as spring water. "No need." Towards this woman with extraordinary combat power, he still somewhat appreciated, and he knew that she must still have some trump cards unused, otherwise it was impossible for her to face that sword aura that was enough to kill her without any change in expression, remaining calm and composed. "You all recover for a day and then hurry along. The heavenly frost golden crystal would be born in 2 days. We'll take our leave first. Yi Zhan turned to look at Yi Qinghan and said, "All right." Yi Qinghan nodded, revealing slight fondness on his face. "Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site." Thanks. Immediately, Yi Zhan walked towards the end of the forest. His black robe paired with the head of silver made his tall figure appear otherworldly, and the moment one didn't pay attention, his figure was completely hidden in this world. "Yenna, are you all right?" Lu Mu Bai stepped forward and looked at Lu Mu Yen with worry. When Xen Bo Jian acted, he simply had no time to rescue her and could only look on helplessly as the sword aura cut towards his sister's forehead. The pain and forlorn desolation in his heart made Lu Mu Bai realize that he was still too insignificant. He squeezed his fists. He had never had a greater desire to grow stronger. Only when he grew stronger and stronger, until he placed himself above this entire continent, could he protect his family. Lu Mu Yen raised her head and smiled at Lu Mu Bai charmingly. "Elder brother, don't worry, I'm fine." Yun Lan and the others also came over, each with incomprehensible emotions in their eyes. The battle between Lu Mu Yen and the Sword Sovereign shocked them and also aroused their desire for strength. Yi Qinglu walked beside Lu Mu Yen and held her wrist affectionately, her eyes filled with admiration. "Elder sister Mu Yen, you're so amazing. In the future my little paternal uncle will no longer be my person of worship. You're the goal I want to chase after." Looking at Yi Qing's adorable, innocent smile, Lu Mu Yan's heart warmed. She stretched out her hand and tapped the tip of her nose, smiling as she said, "Sure." She felt very fated with Yi Qinglu and treated her like a younger sister in her heart. "Qinglu, stop pestering Mu Yen, let her recover as soon as possible." Yi Qinghan's handsome face also revealed a slight smile. Lu Mu Yan's eyes were filled with streams of light. "Qinghan, my deepest gratitude." Qinghan's repeated defense for her tonight made her moved. "Why is there a need for verbal gratitude between us?" Yi Qinghan shook his head with a smile. In his heart, he didn't want Lu Mu Yen to settle everything too clearly with himself. That gorgeous figure had already inhabited his heart. "Then I won't be polite from now on." Lu Mu Yan's eyes were dyed with some cheeriness. In front of a friend that she acknowledged, she indeed didn't need to be polite in the future. Today's fight must made everyone tired. You all quickly restore your elemental energy and physical strength. There's still a tough battle to be fought later. Lu Mu Yen saw the concerned and caring gazes surrounding her and suddenly felt a belonging towards this world. Other people's elemental energy and physical strength were indeed heavily depleted, so they each found a vacant seat near her and sat down to recover. Lu Mu Yen walked beside a large tree and sat down, poured out a few pills again and took it. As soon as she raised her head, she met Lan Sis' gaze not far away. "Teacher Lan, the favor of you protecting me today will be repaid in the future." Lu Mu Yen moved her mouth silently. Lan Sis' gentle and elegant face was full of interest. This woman could surprise him every time. He opened his mouth and mouthed a few words, "I await your repayment." With amusement, Lu Mu Yen looked at Fox Lan, who used his gentleness, handsomeness, and elegance to hide his true nature. This man definitely wasn't as simple as he appeared on the surface. Before Yi Zhan acted, she felt a fluctuation of an array seal from Lan Si. She was certain that this man had hidden his strength. "All right," Lu Mu Yen said softly, then closed her eyes and began to recuperate. She must adjust her physical condition to its peak state within a day. She's going to take that heavenly frost golden crystal for sure. There was a strong sense of crisis in her heart. She felt that various accidents would occur in the coming battle for the heavenly frost golden crystal. The Xan clan's father and daughter might even secretly act against her. She reached out and rubbed the faintly gleaming ice bangle on her wrist. There was actually a little more connection between her and it because of that battle just now. "Ming Xiu, we're about to meet again soon." One quite self-explanatory, but the fish in a pond, is an idiom. She's no mediocre person and instead will achieve greatness. Chapter 111. Erase marks. A day later, Lu Mu Yen opened her eyes. The injuries within her body had been healed by the energy-nourishing pill, and her elemental energy and physical strength had also been restored to the peak. The people in the 10 distinguished clans, except the Xen clan, got up one after the other, looking towards the end of the forest, preparing to leave under the command of the middle-aged man. You all also get ready. Well, set off in a quarter of an hour with the 9 distinguished clans. Lan Si leapt off a big tree, casually arranged his clothes, said to the students of Yanzhou Kingdom, "Teacher, are we going to cooperate with the people from the 9 distinguished clans?" After experiencing some incidents in the glacial mountain range, Ji Han-su no longer had the silly smiles he had before entering the glacial mountain range, and talked a lot less as well. Lan Si chuckled lightly, "No. After arriving at the birthplace of the heavenly frost golden crystal, every ally is an enemy. We're just traveling together for now." Ji Han-su nodded and didn't say any more. Although deep down in his heart he longed to obtain the heavenly frost golden crystal, but he was aware that he didn't have the ability to obtain it. The 9 distinguished clans and the pupils of Yanzhou Kingdom, listen. The middle-aged man, the leader of the 10 distinguished clans, clapped his hands and gathered everyone, then said, "We will travel together now. After we find the heavenly frost golden crystal, you will all separate. This includes all the alliances made within the 10 distinguished clans, end it when we arrive, and we each listen to fate." Previously, the 10 distinguished clans unanimously agreed to make an alliance because they wanted to seal the news. After arriving at the place the heavenly frost golden crystal was to be born, who would still obey that alliance? Naturally it was who snatched it. Would it belong to who? Yes. Everyone replied in unison. Go! The middle-aged man waved his hand and all the elite pupils quickly headed towards the depths of the forest. Lu Muyen scanned the people in the 9 distinguished clans and she found that all the sword monarch powerhouses that appeared before were not in this team at this time. They probably all went ahead long ago to prepare for battle. This time, the main reason the 10 distinguished clans sent elite pupils to contend for the heavenly frost golden crystal was probably to help them gain experience. Judging from the appearance of the 2 sword sovereigns, the other sword sovereigns from the other clans must also reach the glacial mountain range already, and there must be even more sword monarch powerhouses. Lu Muyen curled her lips. She wondered whether the Imperial teacher succeeded in inviting the 2 sword sovereign powerhouses of Yanzhou Kingdom. She had absolutely no fear at the arrival of so many powerhouses, and instead, felt that it should only be natural. The stronger they were, the more interesting it was to compete for it, wasn't it? Although she didn't like using sinister crafty plots and means, but she did like to take advantage of chaos. The group of people rushed non-stop, and it was also inconvenient for Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinglu to leave the Yi clan's team, so they would only communicate with their gazes with Lu Muyen. Ling Fei Hao also stuffed an emerald jade into Lu Muyen's hand, telling her that when she was in danger, she should crush the emerald jade and the strongest sword monarch of the Ling clan would sense it. All the way, it was abnormally quiet. There weren't any movements from any demonic beasts. Everyone was constantly wary and alert while Lu Xiang would cast complicated gazes towards Lu Muyen from time to time. Ji Han-su, who was not far beside her, noticed Lu Xiang's strangeness and remembering the bit of news he had accidentally received, he fell silent for a bit, then finally gritted his teeth and slowed down slightly. When he approached Lu Muyen, he called after her. Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen glanced at Ji Han-su, who usually didn't have much interaction with her, and it could even be said that they had conflicts with each other because of what happened before with Yungu. She couldn't guess what his purpose of calling out to her was. What is it? Be careful of Lu Xiang. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. When the two passed by each other, Ji Han-su whispered exceptionally softly into Lu Muyen's ear as if he didn't say anything. Then he said no more and pulled their distance apart again. He kept up in speed and continued to follow the team, but didn't look at her anymore, nor spoke. Lu Muyen was a little surprised about why Ji Han-su would caution her. She only thought that perhaps Lu Xiang was suspicious but didn't take it to heart. Now, because of Ji Han's caution, she was a little more concerned. In the immortal cultivation world where the weak became meat for the strong, she broke through to the body fusion stage, and could even almost advance to the great ascension stage. Throughout, she had always known one true principle. Never underestimate anyone who appeared to be inferior to your cultivation base or strength. The details decided one's success or failure. Sometimes what ruined things were precisely those inconspicuous people or events. She spread her spiritual sense and also discovered that Lu Xiang cast frequent strange gazes towards her, and even left black stones on the ground or black scratches on large trees every now and then. Lu Muyan's eyes darkened slightly. This Lu Xiang wasn't very strong, but there was always a sense of disharmony about her. Lu Xiang's actions of tossing stones and scratching trees were obviously leaving marks for people, and it seemed that someone was preparing to be the Oriole behind the mantis that stalked the cicada one. Mo Yen, do you think there's a problem with the woman who was fighting with me before? Lu Muyan asked Mo Yen using mental energy as she rushed. Mo Yan's deep and serene black eyes rolled in thought. He didn't turn his head and replied with certainty, "Naturally there's a problem. There's a power sealed in her body, the same as the power that could instantly raise one's strength used by the woman that you last faced off with during the Academy's grand competition." A hint of confusion crossed Lu Muyan's eyes, and then a small, calculative curve rose on her lips. "Mo Yen, what do you want to do again?" The flame-like fur on Mo Yan's head moved. As long as this woman displayed such an expression, it was definitely to calculate against someone, and she'd definitely want him to act. "You can erase all the secret signals she left on the way, right?" Lu Muyan obscurely looked at the stones. Lu Xiang dropped again. Mo Yen closed his eyes. He, a dignified king of a portion of the demonic realm, to think would meet with misfortune and fall to this sort of unfavorable situation where he was ordered by a woman to do these boring things. You think if you erased their secret signals, those people won't be able to find where the heavenly frost golden crystal is? Those people can naturally find it, but they wouldn't have time to prepare an ambush. When they arrive, it'd be perfect for them to mess up the situation, and then we can take advantage of the chaos. Lu Muyan's lustrous and bright eyes that were like glass carried a smile. Mo Yen twitched the corners of his mouth. This woman was indeed not some righteous person, but it was just to his appetite. As long as she wasn't some insidious, conniving, and heartless person, then such a temperament was more suitable for the path of the strong. From forming a contract with Lu Muyan until now, he discovered that Lu Muyan wasn't a good person, but her personality wasn't bad. She didn't abhor evil as if her deadly foe, but definitely would never let go of people who calculated against her. She treated people with some distance and was sometimes very cunning and good at calculations, but she would treat all those that she acknowledged with sincerity and generosity. All in all, Lu Muyan's temperament changed greatly, but she was able to let those that interacted with her recognize her from their hearts. There was simply an invisible magical power that she carried, making people want to be closer to her and give their trust. After sighing, Mo Yen realized that the more he interacted with this black-bellied little woman, the less he was like that cold-hearted and indifferent person he was before, but he unexpectedly didn't dislike such changes. He closed his eyes, and a trace of demonic sense that no one noticed came out of his body, rolled up all the black stones from behind and piled them under a tree that Lu Xiang had left traces on. Aside from that tree, the black marks on all the trees in front were all erased by a powerful demonic consciousness that had been strengthened and solidified. Along the way, nothing occurred, and half a day later, when everyone arrived at the end of the forest, the earth trembled and mountains shook suddenly. Not far away, the sky was filled with 5-colored clouds that gathered. Numerous birds flew across the sky, and a beam of dazzling golden light shot straight up towards the horizon. "The heavenly frost golden crystal's about to be born. Hurry!" The leading middle-aged man shouted, then immediately turned into a stream of light, disappearing at the end of the forest. One the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind classic idiom many might have heard. To be careless, coveting the gains before it but neglecting the larger danger behind. Whoever Lu Xiang words for wants to be that oriole. Chapter 112. Anomalous phenomenon. One after the other, the golden light that shot directly into the sky not far away slowly dispersed, carrying a gentle energy, echoing with the 5-colored auspicious clouds in the sky. Suddenly, a colorful rainbow hung in the air, magnificent and beautiful. Quick, go! The leaders of the distinguished clans commanded their clan members to dash in the direction of the anomalous phenomenon. Lan Si looked in the direction with a deep gaze, then turned to the several people and said, "Let them go first. We'll go at our current speed." A few people revealed confusion in their eyes, but when they saw Lan Si's solemn gaze, they stopped themselves from asking their questions aloud. Despite the infinite desire in their hearts, they still didn't dare to disobey. Yes. Lu Mu Yen glanced at Lan Si meaningfully. This fox sure was clever. Chaotic fighting was probably already happening ahead of them. As Lu Mu Yen expected, their speed was neither too fast nor too slow, but the distance between them and the team of the 9 distinguished clans in front of them was lengthening. After about an hour's journey, they indeed heard loud and sonorous roars one after the other, louder and louder each time. Roar! This sort of sound fluctuated high and low with different levels of pressure, but it could be heard that there were definitely countless of them, and even a wide variety. There are actually so many demonic beast roars. Xiao Ziong couldn't help but reveal surprise and speechlessness in his eyes. Since the last battle with the fire ant colony, he now particularly hated the tactic of taking turns in fighting an opponent. Now that there were so many demonic beasts, did it mean that they would have to join that sort of endless battle again? Lu Mu Yen stood beside him and chuckled as she said jokingly, "You should thank Teacher Lan's wise move, otherwise I'm afraid we'll already be fighting chaotically with the demonic beasts right now." Right now, I'm afraid it's not just humans fighting demonic beasts, but the group of demonic beasts are also fighting chaotically with each other. Yun Zimo's cold eyes were as deep as a well. "Then teacher, does it mean we don't need to go there anymore?" Xiao Ziong looked at Lan Si and asked tentatively. In reality, his longing and obsession for the heavenly frost golden crystal wasn't that deep. Of course, if a peerless spiritual herb was being born in front of him, then he'd definitely rush in that direction, disregarding everything. Lan Si raised an eyebrow, and one couldn't hear any emotions in his tone. "What do you think?" I think we can wait until they're almost killed before going in. Isn't there a saying that goes when the snipe and clam grapple, it's the fisherman who benefits one? Xiao Xiong really hated chaotic battles. Yun Jin stretched out his hand next to him and slapped him on the head. Then he suddenly remembered the word Lu Mu Yen used to scold Xiao Ziong and couldn't help saying, "Idiot. Yun Jin, your skin's tight right now, right too? You're slapping me on the head again?" Xiao Ziong turned his head and glared at Yun Jin. The originally tense atmosphere at this moment was made a lot more relaxing because of Xiao Ziong's idiotic question. "Enough now, what sort of time is it and you're still making trouble?" Hu Fei, who had been silent the entire way, furrowed his brows and scolded the two of them. Yun Jin looked askance at Hu Fei then directly ignored him, while Xiao Ziong snorted coldly, "What's the matter with it?" Hu Fei glared at Xiao Ziong with anger, "Ignorant junior." He was exceptionally upset and distracted right now. He didn't deny that he was tempted for the heavenly frost golden crystal, but he knew how much he weighed in all of this. It was simply impossible to compete with those sword sovereigns and sword monarchs, not to mention he still had a mission to accomplish. He glanced at Lu Xiang surreptitiously. Why hadn't Lord's secret envoy arrived yet? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Xiao Ziong had always disliked Hu Fei, but just when he wanted to scold back, he was stopped by a look from Yun Lan. This wasn't the time for quarreling. Meanwhile, in the woods they fought in before, more than a dozen people with black cloaks were rushing forward, yet they found more than 20 black stones used for secret signals beneath a large tree ahead of them. One of them squatted down and picked up a stone for a look, then said to the leading man, "Lord's secret envoy, this is our contact signal." The leading man's voice was hoarse with a bit of viciousness. It seems that Lu Xiang was discovered by someone. "Then what do we do?" one of them asked anxiously. The leader pointed to one person at random and said, "You go in to investigate if there's anything happening." "Yes." The person who was addressed didn't hesitate and leapt into the Scarlet Woods. After a while, the man returned from within the forest and stood respectfully in front of the leading man, then said, "Lord's secret envoy, there are 3 paths ahead of us. Without a contact signal, this subordinate cannot tell which road they have used. The leading man was silent for a moment, his expression extremely grim. Then after a while, he spoke. Earlier the forest's land shook and mountains trembled. There must have been an anomalous phenomenon, but this forest itself has the effect of blocking out any anomalous phenomenon. We can only see it if we arrive at the end of the forest. We'll divide ourselves among the 3 paths, and when we reach the destination, we'll first kill Lu Mu Yen and Lu Mu Bai, then attempt to compete for the heavenly frost golden crystal. The main task they received this time was to kill Lu Mu Yen. The heavenly frost golden crystal was only supplementary, so even if they desired it very much, they must place their task in first place. Yes, Lord's secret envoy. So more than 10 people divided themselves into 3 groups. The leader wandered back and forth in front of the 3 paths for a moment before leaping into the leftmost path, and the path he chose happened to be the one taken by Lu Mu Yen and the others. Lu Mu Yen and her group, who were currently at the end of the forest, didn't stop just because of the roars of the beasts coming from ahead, and soon left the forest. But the forest was on a high cliff. As soon as one stepped out of the forest, one saw a snow-capped mountain ahead. Beginning from the middle section, it was a tall mountain composed of red rocks. Beneath was the lowest point of an open valley, the road to the tall mountain. But now there were many demonic beasts crawling forward incessantly, while also biting at each other with crimson eyes. Meanwhile, the people from the 10 distinguished clans passed through the beasts, killing them off successfully, and didn't meet with a lot of obstacles as they moved forward quickly. It's as if these demonic beasts have gone crazy. They bite and slaughter their own kind, but when they encounter people from the 10 distinguished clans, they're not very aggressive. It's too abnormal. Yun Lan stood on the cliff and observed the battle at the bottom of the valley, with confusion in his eyes. Lan Si also cast his gaze downwards, but he didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked Lu Mu Yen with a smile, "Lu Mu Yen, what do you think?" After hearing Lan Si's question, several people all unanimously looked at Lu Mu Yen. Everyone saw her previous performance and took it all in, so now they inexplicably thought she might know. Lu Mu Yen twitched the corner of her lips and rolled her eyes at Lan Si. It wasn't like this fox didn't know, but seeing that even her elder brother cast a look of curiosity at her, she slowly said, "Don't you all hear any noise?" The several people listened quietly, and Xiao Ziong furrowed his brows, saying, "The sound of beast roars and fighting." Lu Mu Yen glanced at him speechlessly. "Listen carefully. There seems to be a very faint flute sound, faintly discernible as if a part of the wind." Yun Zmo suddenly looked towards Lu Mu Yen and said. Lu Mu Yen glanced at him appreciatively and replied, "That's right. The reason these demonic beasts are killing each other is in the sound of the flute. One basically means that a third party will benefit from the fighting between Party 1 and Party 2, taking advantage of them. 2 comes from a colloquial saying where if one's skin is tight, just slap them a few times to loosen it. Here, Xiao Ziong's asking whether Yunji needs a few slappings. Note, oops, accidentally published it early again. No second chapter, this is it, huh? 1.5 more weeks to go until the school holidays here, woof. Chapter 113. Teich hearing the conversation between Lu Mu Yen and Yun Zmo, the others also listened carefully, and they realized that there was indeed a very ethereal flute sound coming from a distance. This must be the Yi clan's beast-taming skill. Lu Mu Bei's eyes were profound, with a look of understanding. A gentle smile appeared on Lan Si's handsome and elegant face as he folded his arms. Yi Zhan is indeed amazing. Such scale and skill, only he could exert it. Truly worthy as the Eastern region's peerless genius. Lu Mu Yen didn't express her opinion. She had seen a similar beast-taming skill back at the Beast Tamers sect. This was different to the beast-taming incantation she obtained, but it had the same effect. However, the level of this skill was many times worse than the one she knew of. If her strength reached Sword Sovereign, or she successfully formed her core, she would also be able to achieve this sort of skill level in controlling beasts. Unconsciously, her hand touched the ice bangle again. Strength, power, a strong determination burst out from the bottom on her heart. So this turned out to be the control of Senior Yizhan's flute sound. How amazing! Xiao Ziong couldn't help revealing a sliver of admiration. That man was simply the legend of the eastern region within the last 100 years. Hearing Xiao Ziong's way of address towards Yizhan, Lu Muyen suddenly realized that, aside from when Lan Si added a senior when speaking to Xen Bo Jian afterwards, regardless of who, he addressed Sword's sovereign powerhouses with their names, addressing them as equals to him. She even faintly felt that Lan Si's gentle tone carried a sense of indifference. Aside from his special appreciation for Yizhan, he didn't show any respect that a junior should possess towards Sword's sovereign powerhouses at all. It might not be easy for other people to discover it, but she also held such a state of heart as she, who used to be the female immortal of the spiritual world, bore absolutely no fear of Sword's sovereign powerhouses. In her eyes, what they represented was simply a higher cultivation base than her right now. Aside from that, at most it was appreciation of individuals, such as the same appreciation of Yizhan. The strength of a Sword sovereign was only equivalent to the cultivation base of a core formation stage in the immortal cultivation world, what she used to consider to be an ant-like presence. But she dared to conclude that she and Lan Si were definitely not the same kind of people. He had a deep secret behind him. His cultivation base should have been hidden, and it was probable that even his usual gentle and refined temperament was just an appearance. But who had no secrets? Lan Si wasn't hostile to her, that was enough. She had no intention of exploring other people's secrets. Seeing Xen Bo Jian lead the pupils from the Xen clan to emerge from another side to join the other 9 distinguished clans, rushing forward and about to reach the foot of the tall mountain, Lan Si said leisurely, "Let's go too." Yes. The others also leapt off the cliff with him and rushed towards the foot of the mountain. Along the way, demonic beasts fought each other while from time to time, when they saw them in their crazed state, they would also attack. But they were all easily killed by Lu Mubai and Yun Zmo, the 2 leading people. Lu Muyen looked at the rainbow hanging over the tall mountain. A faint heart palpitation spontaneously emerged within her. She furrowed her brows. It seemed that there was extreme danger and little fortune this time. However, she wasn't afraid. Without the courageous heart to go forward, how could she hack through brambles and thorns and charge onto the path of the strong? Mo Yen, did the Tier 7 demonic beast hide itself? Lu Mu Yen discovered that since the attack from the fire ants, that sense of oppression that enveloped them in the scarlet forest gradually withdrew. With his eyes closed, Mo Yen laid on Lu Mu Yan's shoulder, and without even raising his eyelids, it must be the appearance of the human sword sovereigns that made him fear. So he hid himself. That Queen Mother Ant was also driven by him to besiege you all. But that person named Yizhan must found him. Why do you say so? Lu Mu Yen asked with interest. Intuition. After Mo Yen said that, he remained silent and rested his mind. A trace of spiritual force quickly entered his body from the outside, and the demonic energy that wound around his dantian was even denser than before. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. After separating from Ming Xiu, Lu Mu Yen refined a few cauldrons of pills for Mo Yen. The blood essence and cultivation base he lost was quickly remedied by the pill, and his demonic energy also accumulated not far off from advancing. If it weren't for the wrong time and place, he had already planned to find a hidden place to condense his Yaofu. Lu Mu Yen glanced at Mo Yen. Intuition? Well, she also had the intuition that the transformation stage demonic beast was definitely not easy to deal with. Because the sound of that very faint flute was still reverberating in the air, they reached the foot of the mountain with basically no hindrance along the way. At this time, the pupils of the 10 distinguished clans had already entered a boundless, enormous cave at the foot of the mountain. Lan Si looked at the entrance cautiously and had everyone restore their elemental energy and physical strength to its peak, then enter. A quarter of an hour later, he waved his hand and led everyone into the cave. The inside of the cave was very bright. There was only one narrow path leading to the depths, and on the 2 sides of the narrow path was surging and tumbling lava. If one accidentally fell into it, those Sword King's strength and below would definitely go meet Yamawan. After walking another quarter of an hour, They crossed the narrow path. Then a hillside made of volcanic rock appeared before them. What entered their eyes after crossing the hillside was astonishing. The elite pupils and powerhouses stood on Lu Mu Yen and their party's side, while in front of them was a lava lake that constantly bubbled, fiercely hot. In the center of the lava lake laid a long, thin, golden liquid which was slowly solidifying. The most important thing was that on the opposite side of the 10 distinguished clans, which was also the other side of the lava lake, there stood 2 men who dressed uniquely. One of them, although handsome and carried an effeminate feel, had a cyan-sharp horn that emerged from his head, while the other was 8 feet tall, burly, and there were a few fingernail-sized scales on the side of his face. Behind the 2 of them were more than a dozen Tier 6 demonic beasts, and only from 2 species. There were records of them on the continent's demonic beast record. They were the sky-swallowing python and the spirit rhinoceros beast. Seeing the more than a dozen Tier 6 demonic beasts, it wasn't difficult to guess that the 2 people standing in front of them must be Tier 7 transformation stage demonic cultivators. Lu Mu Yan's gaze swept over the burly man. She felt the same oppressive aura that she felt in the Scarlet Forest. She could conclude that this large man was the demonic cultivator who ordered the Queen Fire Ant to attack them, and also a transformed spirit rhinoceros beast. Their arrival gained the attention of the 2 groups of people. Those in the 10 distinguished clans saw that it was the group Lan Si led, so they didn't pay much attention, while the 2 transformation stage demonic cultivators swept over their cultivation base and their lips rose with ridicule. Lu Mu Yen scanned the area secretly with her spiritual sense once, and found that guy, Ming Xiu's, aura. But she couldn't judge his position, probably because he used some sort of secret skill to hide. Human sword masters, what do you intend to do, breaking into this king's cave dwelling? The effeminate demonic cultivator at the transformation stage retracted his gaze on Lan Si and his party, then looked at the sword sovereigns of the 10 distinguished clans coldly, asking. A yellow-clothed sword sovereign old man, who Lu Mu Yen had never seen before, sneered, "Humph, I sure don't know when this volcano became the cave dwelling of a sky-swallowing python. You beings that usually like the cold could survive for a long time in such high temperatures? What a joke!" A chill radiated from the effeminate man, and the large man beside him, together with the Tier 6 demonic beasts behind them, prepared themselves, ready to act at any time. The battle was on the verge of starting. One Yama, the king of hell in Buddhist and Hindu mythology. So they'll die, basically. E-battle on the verge of starting. Chapter 114, Gathered Together, Snatch. The human cultivators and demonic cultivators took their own positions on either side, prepared to snatch the heavenly frost golden crystal within the lava at any time. The feminine demonic cultivator looked at the sword sovereigns of the 10 distinguished clans coldly, exuding a murderous aura. This glacial mountain range is the territory of us, demonic cultivators. It is already unforgivable that you all have intruded without permission, now to think you even want to compete for the heavenly frost golden crystal. You are truly indulging in the wildest fantasies. Ha! A barefooted, tall human sword sovereign laughed aloud, and looked at them with ridicule, saying, "With just you 2 initial phase transformation stage demonic beasts and you dare to spout such nonsense, it truly is laughable. This old man just so happens to lack a high-level mount, so he'll capture you both later, then let's see how tough your mouth is." The ancestor of the Shui clan sneered, his murky eyes revealing a sharp glint. Hearing his words, the face of the burly man beside the feminine man grew grim. He raised his hand and pointed. A powerful whirlwind erupted from his fingertips, shooting directly towards the Shui clan's ancestor, seeking death. The Shui clan's ancestor snorted, and with a casual release of his hand, a palm-sized emerald qilin one flew out from his hand. When it landed in midair, it suddenly grew bigger and emitted a faint green light. The powerful whirlwind was instantly blocked by the emerald qilin, dissipating in midair. Then the qilin also returned to the size of a palm and landed in the hands of the Shui clan's ancestor. The one human and one demon was simply sounding each other out. The burly man laughed aloud. "Your magic tool is just as oh, come and see this king's." The burly man's claws grabbed, and 2 cyan lights suddenly flew out from the depths of the cave. Then 2 sledgehammers filled with cyan qilin patterns landed in his hands. He flew up and slammed down a few times from mid-air, down at the Shui clan's ancestor. From the sledgehammer flew out hammer prints condensed from demonic energy, falling straight down onto the head of the Shui clan's ancestor. Demonic cultivators didn't only rely on their powerful bodies and innate talents and skills to fight. They could also control humans' magic tools, and many high-level transformation stage demonic cultivators would also infiltrate among the humans and pay a certain high price to request high-level smiths to refine magic tools suitable for them. This cyan lin hammer held by this burly man was made by a grade 3 smith in the eastern region, extremely powerful. The Shui clan's ancestor narrowed his eyes and exhaled a breath of essence. The emerald qilin in his hand radiated a brighter dazzling green light, automatically flew out of his palm, and fell on his head to form a green barrier. Boom boom. The hammer prints all fell on and hit the emerald qilin, releasing a few loud noises. Then the hammer prints slowly faded away and a crack appeared on the emerald qilin. The Shui clan's ancestor furrowed his brows as he retracted his magic tool, staring deeply at the 2 giant hammers in midair with the burly man. The magic tool refined by Great Master Ning is indeed extraordinary. Great Master Ning was very famous in the eastern region. Although he was only a grade 3 smith, but every magic tool he produced was all of the finest quality. They could even match the magic tools refined by a grade 4 smith in terms of perfect attributes. Except he had a weird personality as he rarely made magic tools for human cultivators, and instead cooperated with demonic cultivators more often. Great Master Ning is better than your group of greedy and hypocritical humans. Speaking of Great Master Ning, the burly demonic cultivator man revealed some respect in his eyes. Lu Muyen looked at the 2 giant hammers with great interest. This pair of spirit treasures was indeed extraordinary. Not only was there excellent heat control during refining, but several materials suitable for demonic cultivators were also added, allowing it to be even more powerful. Compared to Huoxiao, he was indeed much stronger. When she had the chance, she sure wanted to visit Great Master Ning. So you are all prepared to battle then? The previous barefooted human sword sovereign's face was full of battle intent. The large demonic cultivator man held the giant hammers in his hand and said arrogantly, "It was just a warm-up just now, why in such a hurry? Wouldn't it be even more interesting when the heavenly frost golden crystal's born? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, they're delaying time." Mo Yan's voice resounded in Lu Mu Yan's sea of consciousness. Lu Mu Yan also noticed that although the demonic cultivators on the opposite side acted, they didn't have much battle intent. Do they have some sort of trump card? Or are they waiting for reinforcements? A faint light of unidentifiable emotions lit in Mo Yan's indifferent eyes. The transformation stage demonic cultivators in the center ring is probably coming over here right now. These 2 demonic cultivators probably wanted to take it all for themselves before, but now that they're facing 8-sword sovereign human powerhouses, they had no choice but to spread the news of the heavenly frost golden crystal. Lu Mu Yan nodded. This time, aside from the Ling clan and the Nineth-ranked Wu clan, the other 8 clans of the 10 distinguished clans had all sent sword sovereigns to hold their grounds. The heavenly frost golden crystals about to take shape. Lu Mu Yan's solemn gaze swept towards the liquid that had already become dark golden in the center of the lava. Mo Yan's gaze on the heavenly frost golden crystal also revealed some fiery desire. This thing, for humans, was only one of the best materials for refining magic tools, but to them, demonic beasts, it was the best spiritual item of heaven and earth for shaping and tempering their yaofu, as well as tempering their body. As long as the heavenly frost golden crystal was refined and absorbed into their demonic bone and demonic marrow, the strength and toughness of the demonic beast's body would rise a level. More importantly, it was an invincible existence for when one wanted to break through their bottleneck. In other words, as long as the heavenly frost golden crystal was left to refine when they were breaking through, then regardless of what bottleneck it would be a useless bottleneck. Unfortunately, a demonic beast could only use the heavenly frost golden crystal twice. Once could be used to forge and temper their yaofu and support it to rise in level to heavenly quality, and another time could be used beneath Tier 9 to break through the bottleneck and successfully advance. Humph, you want to delay time to wait for the demonic cultivators of the center ring to come support you? Too late. The barefooted large man and the other sword sovereigns had all lived for almost 100 years, so their scheming was naturally not lacking. They could also see through the two demonic cultivators' intentions. The feminine demonic cultivator was about to speak, then suddenly his gaze fixed on the dark golden liquid in the lava pool. Suddenly, the liquid in the lava pool emitted a dazzling golden light and leapt from the lava with a dash, carrying an aura that made one feel fearful. The barefooted sword sovereign gave the Shui clan ancestor and Exenbo Jian a look, then uttered a word, snatch. Dash. Then 9 figures flew in the direction of that golden light, precisely the 7 human sword sovereigns and the 2 demonic cultivators. The sword monarchs and sword kings below immediately greeted the more than a dozen Tier 6 demonic beasts that rushed over, and in that moment, the humans and demonic beasts battled in chaos. Lu Muyen cast her gaze on Yi Zhan, who was still standing on the side of a rock, unmoving, as well as Lan Si, who looked as if he was enjoying a good show. As expected, only these 2 knew the secret behind the birth of the heavenly frost golden crystal. When she used her spiritual sense to sweep towards a dark corner in the depths of the cave, her lips rose into an arc. Ming Xiu, that guy, also knew. Rumble. Sound after sound of the rapid running of demonic beasts landed. Then more than 30 Tier 5 demonic beasts rushed out from the hillside, rushing towards the human cultivators. Lu Muyen and the others from the trial were also separated by the group of demonic beasts, and the entire cave was in chaos. From time to time, swords glistened, and the roars of demonic beasts reverberated ceaselessly in the cave. Lu Muyen saw Lu Mubai and the others greet the crazed demonic beasts without much danger, so she utilized her flash steps to dodge the attacking demonic beasts one by one, heading towards the lava pool. When she was approaching the edge of the lava, she felt a chill behind her. Her eyes grew cold, and she tapped her toes, shifting her position several times to avoid a sword aura sneak attack from the rear. The moment she turned around, Lu Muyen saw Lu Xiang look at her with full killing intent, then fly towards her, waving her sword to attack without hesitation. Wan Qilin, a mythical creature of ancient China thought to be wise and fair and powerful. Often depicted with one horn and translated as unicorn, but unicorn is translated differently in China. Chapter 115, Kill. With a strong killing intent exuding from Lu Xiang, she tore off a jade ornament hanging on her neck with one hand and clenched it tightly. When the jade broke, a force that didn't belong to her suddenly burst out from her dantian. The sealed water attribute elemental energy penetrated into Lu Xiang's meridians bit by bit, and her cultivation base rose incessantly. From advanced phase Sword Spirit, she broke straight through to initial phase Sword King, then middle phase Sword King, advanced phase Sword King, and finally she stopped at peak phase Sword King. Just like Gu Yen ran last time, Lu Xiang's face was flushed after relying on an external force for power. Blood vessels bulged, and it appeared that it was slightly uncontrollable. Lu Xiang's strange movements naturally attracted the attention of many people. Lan Si, who had moved beside the lava pool, stood there, watching with interest, as Lu Xiang condensed a water column that headed straight towards Lu Muyen. Yi Zhan didn't miss the look on his face, as if watching a show, and said, "Not going to go up and help? She doesn't need it." Lan Si was obviously extremely confident in Lu Muyen. A strange brilliance flashed past in Yi Zhan's deep black eyes that seemed to pardon thousands and possess great wisdom. He casually swept over Lu Xiang. This method of using external force to advance one's cultivation base was extremely harmful to oneself, and she couldn't be Lu Muyen's opponent either. "Aren't you going to snatch the heavenly frost golden crystal?" Lan Si asked with a smile when he saw Yi Zhan cast his eyes on the battle between Lu Muyen and Lu Xiang. Yi Zhan's voice was light. "And why don't you go snatch it?" Lan Si looked up at the sword sovereigns who chased after the golden rays of light not far away as they battled each other. Those demonic beasts and human cultivators who were affected by their violent sword auras were all now buried here, and he sighed. I'm just a sword monarch cultivation-based junior, so what could I use to compete with the sword sovereigns? Yizhan smiled meaningfully. Is that so? Then I won't be polite later. Lan Si had a gentle and harmless smile on his handsome and elegant face, and both of them knew what it meant by won't be polite later. Within the crowd, Lu Muyan took out the golden long whip and directly greeted Lu Xiang's attack. Although this woman appeared to be at peak phase Sword King, but she only had the combat power of a middle phase Sword King, and her experience was even more lacking. The water column that flew out was turned into countless droplets by the snaps of her golden long whip. Lu Muyan, today I'll first ruin your Dantian to avenge Yen Ran, then send you to pass on. It's an honor for you to die in the birthplace of such a spiritual item such as the heavenly frost golden crystal. Lu Xiang kept forming seals with her right hand. Waves upon waves of elemental energy within her, as if wanting to burst, maniacally channeled into the long sword she held, and she smiled sinisterly at Lu Muyan. Lu Muyan sneered. This woman's brain must been muddled. Well, I sure won't destroy your Dantian, nor let you be honorably buried in the birthplace of the heavenly frost golden crystal. Lu Muyan waved the whip with one hand and the other formed seals at the same time, then her red lips finally uttered a few words gently. I'll let you be buried in the belly of a demonic beast and accompany the glacial mountain range forever. Anger rose on Lu Xiang's face. She raised her hand and waved. Countless water droplets flew from her long sword as if strings of beaded curtains, falling around Lu Muyan. The crystal drops of water resembled chains of beads strung together with elemental energy, each emitting a faint blue light, but not falling down. It formed an ellipse that enclosed Lu Muyan. The elemental energy within Lu Xiang's body was slowly drained. She knew that she wouldn't be able to maintain the peak phase Sword King cultivation base for long. When the borrowed power in her body was consumed, she wouldn't be Lu Muyan's opponent. Therefore, after the tentative attacks, she mobilized the elemental energy within her entire body and used her strongest killer move. Success or failure would depend on this move. Lu Muyan felt that every drop of water on the beaded curtain surrounding her carried vast and boundless elemental energy. It was a manifestation of the elemental energy condensation, but this condensation was formed from that mysterious power that Lu Xiang borrowed within her, so it would last no more than a quarter of an hour. She watched the beaded curtains shrink, carrying the power capable of destroying the sky. As long as one touched it, it would explode completely. She no longer hesitated, put away the golden long whip, stopped forming hand seals, and stretched out a wrist, opening her palms. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, an icy whirlwind rolled out of her palm and dispersed in all directions. Tinkle. The whirlwind made clear, crisp, sweet noises as it rolled up the beaded curtain. After the water drops were blown by the wind, they immediately turned into crystal-clear ice beads, swaying constantly. Each string that collided together would make such sweet tones that it was intoxicating. When the humans and demonic beasts that battled near Lu Muyan and Lu Xiang heard the sound, they were dazed for a bit, as if indulged in it. Lu Xiang felt as if the elemental energy in her body was frozen, and she fell into a trance for a moment. Who knew that the moment she was in a trance, a white shadow passed through the beaded curtain and landed right in front of her. Her eyes grew wide, and she wanted to stab Lu Muyan with her sword, but who would have expected that her movements were exceptionally slow? Horror rose on her face unconsciously. That sword had yet to meet Lu Muyan's body when she felt a sudden pain in her chest. She slowly lowered her head to look at her chest and saw a half-inch long dagger stabbed straight into her heart. How is that possible? Lu Xiang's eyes were full of incredulity, looking at Lu Muyan, who was smiling softly, and slowly spit out the 4 words. Lu Muyan took out a silk handkerchief and wiped her hands. When she loosened her fingers, that handkerchief fell into the lava with the wind, immediately turning into ashes. She looked at Lu Xiang and said, "How is it not possible?" Lu Xiang looked at Lu Muyan's stunning face that carried a smile, but there wasn't a lot of emotion in her eyes. It was a kind of disregard. Lu Mu Yen didn't regard her as a real opponent at all. She wasn't even qualified to be belittled, only indifference and disregard. She watched the blood on her chest slowly solidify into red ice and raised her head to look at Lu Mu Yen inconceivably. This woman was actually a dual attribute sword master. But how could the fire attribute coexist with the ice attribute? Her eyes darkened, then a vicious light burst out in an instant. Even if she died, she would drag Lu Mu Yen, and the sword masters of the same level here, down with her. Lu Mu Yen naturally saw the confusion and viciousness in her eyes, but she didn't want to continue to speak nonsense, nor explain, to her opponent. With a wave of her hand, the golden long whip swung out and rolled Lu Xiang up. I already said, I want you to accompany the glacial mountain range forever. Lu Mu Yen hated others that backstabbed her, and sneak attacked her. Towards enemies, she was never merciful. With a light toss, Lu Xiang's body fell in front of a Tier 5 ice crocodile who was trying to flee towards the entrance of the cave for whatever reason. The ice crocodile saw that a human dared to actually block its way, and in a rage, it bit Lu Xiang's legs without hesitation and began to bite and swallow. The shrill cry echoed within the cave. Looking at the fear in Lu Xiang's eyes, Lu Mu Yen didn't express too much emotion and remained indifferent. When she was in the immortal cultivation world, because she wasn't ruthless enough, in a moment of softness, she let an enemy go. In the end, she was besieged by that person who returned with reinforcements and was severely injured, barely surviving. From then on, she would never be merciful to her enemy. She would kill if she should and would definitely never let go of any fish that slipped through the net, otherwise it'd be herself who'd die in the future. Lu Xiang's body couldn't withstand the attack of that mysterious force at all, and she already appeared to be close to self-destructing. She threw her into the demonic beast's mouth to be eaten because she also wanted to prevent the force of the self-destruction of Lu Xiang to affect herself and others, but others didn't seem to think so. Translation provided by May Our Come True. Chapter 116. This highness will take it. When the shrill screams echoed in the cave, many people couldn't help but cast their eyes on Lu Xiang, who was being eaten by the ice crocodile. Then their gazes shifted to Lu Mu Yen. She stood on a high rock in spotless white clothes with an indifferent expression, holding a golden long whip. Behind her, the frozen water elemental energy beaded curtain broke inch by inch, turning into light blue powder, scattering in the air. Many people cast disapproving glances at her. Lu Xiang used an external force to increase her cultivation base to kill Lu Mu Yen, so she deserved to die, but why did Lu Mu Yen kill her and also throw her in front of a demonic beast to eat? Such an approach was too cruel. This was the thought of many of the pupils of the 10 distinguished clans. The good feelings and admiration for Lu Mu Yen they originally had instantly faded, and there was even a faint dislike. Lu Mu Yen didn't care about other people's opinions, nor explained. She turned around to avoid the crazy demonic beasts and landed beside the lava, standing there quietly. Lu Mu Yen, they think you're too cruel. Lan Si watched her emotionless expression as she stood beside him. He revealed a gentle smile as if knowing why she did it, and didn't have a trace of disgust. Instead, a kind of appreciation rose from his heart. He had seen countless women. They were either cruel, either kind, either gentle, either hypocritical, either arrogant or the like, but there had never been a woman who constantly refreshed his understandings like Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yen didn't move, staring at the bubbling hot lava, and then whispered after a bit, "Doesn't matter." Yizhan looked askance at the girl beside her, his eyes that were boundless and deep like the sea fluctuated slightly. The gazes of Yi Qinghan, Yun Lan and the others that were cast on Lu Mu Yen were all very soft, and they weren't disgusted by what she had done just now. Lu Xiang was just looking for death, so who could she blame? Bang! Following the shrill screams and the roar of the demonic beasts in the cave, the surrounding rocks shook and an explosive sound with dense, strong elemental energy resounded throughout the cave. The humans and demonic beasts currently fighting all looked in the direction of the ice crocodile with lingering fear. At this time, the place had been razed to the ground and the flesh and blood of more than a dozen Tier 5 demonic beasts splattered across the area. This sort of power was already very close to the full blow of a sword sovereign powerhouse. So that Lu Xiang wanted to self-destruct by borrowing the external force. The faces of those people who had thought Lu Muyen was cruel now turned pale. If Lu Xiang's body hadn't been thrown so far and was eaten by the ice crocodile, the elemental energy from the self-destruction would be even greater, and the people and demonic beasts who fought in the central area wouldn't be spared from being affected. The fights between the sword sovereign powerhouses were all being suppressed because below them were still the pupils of the various clans, so the energy used wasn't spread too much to avoid hurting their own pupils. But Lu Xiang obviously had no scruples at all. If they were affected by her self-destruction, even if they didn't die, they'd be heavily injured. Those who originally had some sympathy for Lu Xiang all spat at her and were irritated with her in their hearts. There were some other emotions in their eyes that looked towards Lu Muyen. The disgusted expressions were replaced by complexity, and a few people even had faint gratitude in their eyes. Even if Lu Xiang's target was Lu Muyen, but if she self-destructed, there was no difference between enemy or friend. This time, it was indeed Lu Muyen who saved them. Lu Muyen, however, had no intention of being concerned about the complex gazes that had changed. Her heart was currently beating hard at this moment, as if there was something beckoning her at the bottom of the deep lava pool. Lu Muyen, you're really only 16 years old? My interest in you is really getting stronger and stronger. Lan Si suddenly leaned down beside Lu Muyen, his even breath landing beside her ear. Lu Muyen stepped back, furrowed her brows, and looked at Lan Si, saying, "If you're really bored, why not think about how to deal with Senior Yi? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site." Thanks, a meaningful smile rose on Lan Si's gentle and elegant face. It turns out that aside from him, you also know. A color of surprise flashed past Yizhan's eyes, then he held back his emotions. He looked up and saw the golden light, grabbed by the ancestor of the Shui clan, suddenly spill out from his fingers. Then it assembled again and turned into an even brighter golden light, flying into the bottom of the lava pool. Don't hide anything anymore, whoever snatches it will it belong to who? When the golden light fell into the lava, Yizhan immediately took out his jade flute on his waist, flew up and slashed at the lava pool. Lan Si also put away the smile on his face, took out his long sword and swung a strong sword light at the lava. Meanwhile, the sword sovereigns who were fighting in the distance looked at each other in confusion. Then they saw the part of the lava that Yizhan and Lan Si attacked suddenly erupt and shoot up a pillar of fiery lava. The pillar of fire held a spar with a dark golden appearance but flowing golden liquid in the middle. Instantly, the magnificent and beautiful rainbow that was above the mountain suddenly appeared above the pillar of fire, then turned into a seven-colored stream of light, scattering onto the dark golden spar. The flowing golden liquid in the spar instantly solidified and a layer of soft light enveloped it, radiant and colorful, truly breathtaking. A faint fragrance spread from the heavenly frost golden crystal, filling the entire cave. This is the birth of the heavenly frost golden crystal. A sword sovereign watched the formation of the heavenly frost golden crystal in amazement, then flew over immediately. 7 other light figures flew out, following him. Except their speed was still a few steps behind 2 figures, one black, one blue, that were already approaching the top of the pillar of fire. Lu Muyan's eyes brightened. She continued to form seals with one hand as she tapped her foot lightly and flew towards the pillar of fire. She slapped out a palm and an icy hurricane engulfed the surrounding fire. No one noticed that a transparent jade-colored rune was quietly fused with the ice elemental energy condensation hurricane, surreptitiously blasting towards the pillar of fire. And that pillar of fire that rose towards the sky, together with the heavenly frost golden crystal it birthed, was instantly wrapped in a layer of frost and turned into an ice pillar. Yizhan furrowed his brows. He slashed his flute again and a soft light, as if encompassing everything, whizzed out, slashing straight towards the top of the ice pillar, cutting off the ice-enveloped heavenly frost golden crystal. Lan Si's lips curled up and the long sword in his hand sliced down at the same time, carrying with it a power as if capable of destroying the heaven and earth. It just so happened to fall on the heavenly frost golden crystal, and the heavenly frost golden crystal was instantly cut into 5 segments, flying out in different directions. The two headed in different directions and caught one each while Lu Mu Yen stopped in her steps and stood atop the ice pillar with folded arms, watching the others compete for it. The other sword sovereigns didn't even think as they each flew in one of the 3 directions, all with the intention of at least collecting one of the pieces, then think things through later. Yet who knew that they had yet to touch the heavenly frost golden crystal when they were blocked by countless sword auras that suddenly scattered from a corner. Then a red-clothed man wearing a silver mask appeared in midair mysteriously. He was tall in build with a domineering and noble temperament, as if looking down upon the world. With just a wave of his hand, the 3 pieces of the heavenly frost golden crystal that was flying towards the outside actually obediently circled around, turning back, and landed in his hand. The heavenly frost golden crystal, This Highness will take it. Translation provided by May Our Come True. Chapter 117, Jealous Note, unedited as I needed to do something. We'll edit updated version ASAP later today in midair. Ming Xiu stretched out his arm and held the 3 frozen heavenly frost golden crystal in his hands. He looked indifferently and coldly at the sword sovereigns, glaring as if a tiger eyeing its prey. He held up a piece of heavenly frost golden crystal to play with, looking down with a bit of tease in his eyes, and said in an extremely arrogant tone, "This heavenly frost golden crystal is in this Highness' hands. If you want them, come get it." Humph! From where did such an arrogant person come out from? You and I are both sword sovereigns. With you alone you want to provoke us all. You truly are courting death. The Shui clan's ancestor looked at the red-clothed man in the sky with cold eyes. This man gave him a sense of oppressive danger. But the heavenly frost golden crystal's attraction was simply too great. He suggested to the other sword sovereigns and demonic cultivators, "Let's go together. Whoever obtains the heavenly frost golden crystal will it be whose." His words made the other sword sovereigns and demonic cultivators interested, and they flew up together, surrounding Ming Xiu, phenobiliated their elemental energy together to utilize their magic tools, wanting to kill him first then obtain the heavenly frost golden crystal. Yi Zhan, who was standing by the lava, didn't join the siege of Ming Xiu. His gaze was deep and far-reaching. Seeing Lan Si walk to the side with a piece of heavenly frost golden crystal, he unconsciously said, "That person is very strong." Lan Si meaningfully swept his gaze over to Lu Mu Yen, who stood atop the ice pillar, watching the battle fixedly. Then he cast his gaze on the silver-masked, red-clothed man. Those people are all sending themselves to their deaths. The indifference in Ming Xiu's eyes didn't fade despite being surrounded, as if these sword sovereigns were irrelevant to him. They were being underestimated. This was the first feeling of the several sword sovereigns. "Go!" The ancestor of the Shui clan narrowed his eyes and brandished a red silk ribbon from within his sleeve. This was his high-grade spirit treasure. Every time it was brandished, it had never been in a disadvantage as it trapped sword masters within the red silk. Although it couldn't trap one for long, but it was enough for him to kill the person. Following the ancestor of the Shui clan, all the sword sovereigns who besieged Ming Xiu either swung their swords in anger or attack using their spirit treasures. In an instant, in midair, the cave lit up with various colors, carrying strong pressure. The demonic beasts and sword masters below all felt extremely suppressed and difficult to move. A light curve appeared on Ming Xiu's lips, and a golden longsword appeared in his hands. His eyes sharpened and merely waved his sword casually. A violent metal attribute elemental energy sword aura flew from the longsword, forming 9 golden hurricanes, slashing straight towards the 7 humans and 2 demonic beasts. The hurricane formed by the sword aura swept past, and the sword auras that flew towards him collapsed one after the other. Their spiritual treasures also grew dim and returned into the hands of the few people. With disregard in his eyes, he slashed down again. A cyclone exploded from his long sword, then turned into 9 golden rays of light, shooting directly hitting the 7 humans and 2 demonic beasts. The 7 humans and 2 demonic cultivators all revealed horror in their eyes and immediately took out their defense-type magic tools to block, or slash their swords in return. 7 cord rays of light exploded in midair, and the overflowing violent elemental energy instantly spread and affected those below. Yi Zhan's brows furrowed when he saw this, then took off a red jade pendant he wore and threw it above the elite pupils of the 10 distinguished clans. The red jade pendant suddenly grew numerous times larger, forming a powerful shield, and the overflowing 7-colored elemental energy rays of light fell on the pendant, but only made it shake a little, then dispersing. The elite pupils of the 10 distinguished clans below all heaved a sigh of relief. If they were hit by the various 7-colored rays of light, they would have to remain here forever. Pu. The result of the battle in midair came quickly. After the 7 humans and 2 demonic cultivators met the 9 golden sword auras, they all, more or less, suffered internal injuries and couldn't help spouting out a mouthful of blood. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks what? The elite pupils below continued to fight the demonic beasts while observing the battle above. But a scene that caused an uproar and made them dumbfounded occurred. The elders in their clans were actually all beaten back by that red-clothed devilishly handsome man with 1 slash, and were even injured. This was simply inconceivable. Everyone only had one thought in their minds at this time. Just who was this man? What cultivation base? Simply too strong. Lu Mu Yen couldn't help revealing surprise in her eyes. She had known long ago that this man, Ming Xiu, was very strong, but she didn't expect he would be this strong. However, when this guy was at Sword Monarch, he could already slay a Sword Sovereign. Now he was already at a Sword Sovereign cultivation base, plus, after taking the Foundation Establishment pill and washing his marrow, wiping out same-level Sword Sovereigns was naturally possible. Lu Mu Yen, do you know the Hall Master of the 9-layer Hall? Lan Si had always been observing Lu Mu Yan's expression, and when he saw her reveal a touch of understanding, he leapt up onto the ice pillar and asked with a smile. Lu Mu Yan looked at him in confusion and asked instead, 9-layer Hall? Hearing Lan Si's tone, Ming Xiu should be the Hall Master of the 9-layer Hall, but she had never heard of this name. The 9-layer Hall is a great entity on Tianling continent, and also the real controller behind the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance. And that red-clothed man with a mask is the Hall Master of the 9-layer Hall. Seeing Lu Mu Yen with a puzzled expression that didn't seem to be fake, Lan Si didn't hide anything. Lu Mu Yen concealed her emotions and asked with a smile, "What's his name?" There were deep secrets hidden in Lan Si, and perhaps even his identity as an academy teacher is also fake. Being able to recognize Ming Xiu also meant that he must not be ordinary. Don't know. Others all called him His Highness Monarch Ming. Lan Si approached Lu Mu Yen and said with a meaningful smile, "What his name is, Lu Mu Yen, you should be very clear, right? What makes you say so?" Lu Mu Yen raised an eyebrow. Lan Si's tone was full of certainty, though half was to trick some more intel, while the other half was certainty. She sure was rather curious at how he knew that she knew Ming Xiu. That day during the auction, you offended a Sword Monarch. Wasn't it he who came out to help you out? Lan Si also participated in that auction. Others only knew that the Monarch Ming came out to maintain order for the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance, but he discovered that there was a very weak mental energy fluctuation from Monarch Ming to Lu Mu Yen at the time. Therefore he was certain that the two weren't only acquainted, but also had a friendship. There were no waves in Lu Mu Yan's eyes, but she had to praise Lan Si in her heart, as expected from a fox. He sure was really observant. So what if we're acquainted, so what if we're not? She neither denied she knew Ming Xiu, nor admitted in person. Shall just keep this Lan fox guessing by himself. Lu Mu Yen, you little fox. Lan Si whispered into Lu Mu Yan's ear intimately. A nice choice entered Lu Mu Yan's ears with a breath. She wasn't used to being so close to people, so she tapped her foot and leapt off the ice pillar and landed on the edge of the lava pool. This Lan Gox was clearly attempting to coax the egrets from her. As if shed brother him. Seeing Lu Mu Yan's rather helpless look, Lan Si suddenly felt that this woman was also quite cute and couldn't help but chuckle. Except he didn't laugh long because not far away, A golden sword aura turned into an arc and slashed straight towards him from the air. There was a coldness in Meng Xiu's eyes. The man's deliberate intimacy with the little woman just now made him extremely unhappy. At this time, he actually dared to approach and tease her. A killing intent exuded from him. Lan Si narrowed his eyes slightly, and with a touch of unnoticeable interest on his lips, he stretched out his long sword and swung it with all his strength before immediately leaping off the ice pillar. Crack! The two sword auras greeted each other, and Lan Si's sword aura was quickly obliterated and dissipated while the golden sword aura directly split the ice pillar into several segments. Lu Mu Yen, Monarch Ming's jealous. If you don't act, teacher will die. Note, I'm X being jealous. Cute. Note, sorry guys, another unedited chapter due to unforeseen circumstances. Yesterday's chapter is updated with edits. I will also edit this chapter ASAP as well. Lan Si's telepathic communications sounded in Lu Mu Yan's sea of consciousness. She turned her head and rolled her eyes at Lan Si. She couldn't hear any fear of Meng Xiu in that fox's voice, and instead was full of fun. Woman, don't let other men less than 3 steps close to you in the future. Immediately following, Meng Xiu's nice, clear and magnetic voice entered Lu Mu Yan's sea of consciousness. As soon as she raised her head, she met that pair of deep obsidian-like eyes that carried a faint annoyance. Lu Mu Yan's lips rose in a slight curve. This guy sure was pretty. He's my teacher, you should resolve the other people first. Meng Xiu's flamboyant and unbridled red robe fluttered gently, and he withdrew his attention from Lan Si, not quite in a good mood. He scanned the 7 sword sovereigns and 2 transformation stage demonic cultivators who didn't fare any rashly anymore. Take out your trump cards and use your all to fight against this highness. If you win, the heavenly frost golden crystal is yours. That tone was as presumptuous as it gets, and as arrogant as it gets. Ah, interesting. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from outside the cave and the sound grew closer and closer, then finally, it was deafening. Several Sword King stage pupils covered their ears in pain. Lu Mu Yan's mental power on her sea of consciousness formed a cyclone and wheeled, suppressing the curse-like voice as much as possible. She cast her solemn gaze towards the 3 standing figures that suddenly appeared in the sky within the cave. The leader was an elegant-looking young man, and behind him was a woman in yellow clothes and a masked man in cyan clothes. Tier 8 demonic cultivators. Lu Mu Yan's eyes sank. The arrival of the 3 demonic cultivators made the people and demonic beasts stop their battles. Several sword sovereigns were shocked when they scanned the man's cultivation base. Greetings to Ice Master. The 2 demon cultivators who had besieged Meng Xiu were startled for a moment when seeing the 3 demons, clearly also a little startled, but they didn't dare hesitate and immediately stepped forward and bowed. The leading elegant man held a feather fan with a gentle, cultured, bookish temperament and simply seemed to have no relation to a transformation stage demon cultivator. His eyes were indifferent, but with a casual sweep of his eyes, it made people feel a chill. Whoever has the heavenly frost golden crystal, take it out. This monarch will take it. His tone was light, as if he was simply talking about something unimportant. Currently, the sword sovereigns of the 10 distinguished clans in midair all landed and retreated to the side. This scholarly and refined-looking demon cultivator's level was an entire stage higher than them. They simply didn't dare make any moves. What big talk? What if this highness says no? There was a chill in Meng Xiu's voice, but the arrogance didn't abate. Hearing what Monarch Ming said, Yi Zhan and Lan Si didn't glance at each other and said nothing. The scholarly and refined-looking Ice Master was taken aback for a moment, then sneered, "Only a human sword sovereign strength cultivator and you dare to call yourself this highness? How interesting." Interesting? This highness actually finds it boring. There was absolutely no fear in Meng Xiu's eyes, as if the difference in cultivation base between them was nothing. Good. You have personality. I like it. The Ice Master looked around Meng Xiu with interest. Not only did he not get angry, he also showed some appreciation. Take off your mask and let this monarch have a look. If you look handsome and beautiful and is to this monarch's liking, then it doesn't matter if this monarch wouldn't mind rewarding you with the heavenly frost golden crystal. Lu Mu Yen felt constant cold air overflow from Ming Xiu's body, and she couldn't help but twitch the corners of her lips. So this demonic beast seemed to be gay. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, this highness still lacks a flying mount. The descendant of the ancient ice Luan can make do. There was a chill on the deep black eyes of Ming Xiu, and a clear and devilishly enchanting laugh sounded from Ming Xiu's lips. What do you think of such? The smile on the ice master's eyes slowly vanished, and it was replaced by a piece of icy coldness. This devilishly enchanting man didn't only know that he was the descendant of the ancient ice Luan, but he also wanted to make him his mount. What big talk it was! This also made anger he had never had before rise in him. Gasp! The man and woman, and the two demon cultivators couldn't help sucking in a deep breath when they heard Ming Xiu's words. This human sword master was truly bold. The ice master might look extremely bookish on the surface, but he had a very cruel and changeable temperament. Currently, Ming Xiu, in their eyes, was no doubt equivalent to a dead person. If you want to take this monarch as a mount, then take out some skill and let's take a look. This monarch actually wants to take you back for dual cultivation. Such a beauty is rare. The ice master had coldness in his eyes, but his mouth was extremely cheap. This place is too small. How about we go out to fight? Ming Xiu didn't care about other people's life or death, but was afraid that the battle with this Tier 8 demon cultivator would affect Lu Mu Yen and her elder brother. The ice mazier glanced at the human cultivators below and chuckled. It's not a good problem to be soft-hearted. You will have to change it later after following this monarch. This highness is too lazy to chat with a bird like you. Come fight. Ming Xiu's eyes were stained with a thick layer of battle intent. Ever since he advanced, he always wanted to fight against a sword venerable human or demon, and this stinky bird just so happened to send itself to the door. After vaguely exchanging a glance with Lu Mu Yen, then with a swish Ming Xiu turned into a red stream of light and shot straight to the cave entrance. Woman, be careful. Wait for this highness to return. As the red light disappeared into the cave, Lu Mu Yen also revived Ming Xiu's telepathic words. She furrowed her brows, her expression revealing slight worry. It was really hard to predict the outcome between Ming Xiu, at middle phase sword sovereign cultivation base, and a demon cultivator at initial phase tier 8. That ice master wasn't an ordinary demonic beast and was the same as Mo Yen, a king-class demonic beast. Although its bloodline was slightly inferior to the spirit devourer, but it was definitely still powerful. The ice master saw Ming Xiu disappear in the blink of an eye, and his lips displayed some interest. In a flash, he also turned into a cyan blue light and also disappeared from the cave. The remaining one man and one woman looked at each other. This time they invited the ice master to take the heavenly frost golden crystal, yet who knew that the irresponsible ice master would actually become interested in a human man? But they didn't dare pull teeth from a tiger. Mo Yen, who do you think is stronger, Ming Xiu or ice master? Lu Mu Yen asked telepathically. Mo Yen lifted his eyelids, and his voice was still faint. Should be Ming Xiu. Lu Mu Yen chuckled, and her tone carried a sense of tease. That bird might not be interested in Ming Xiu after seeing you, Mo Yen. Gays could probably communicate better between the same race. Idiot woman. Mo Yen couldn't help but cursed for the first time, then closed his eyes and ignored Lu Mu Yen. This woman really deserved a beating. Pfft. Lu Mu Yen liked to watch Mo Yan's indifferent face change the most and couldn't help but chuckle. Sky-swallowing python. Aside from the man in red who obtained the heavenly frost golden crystal, did two other people also obtain it? The beautiful yellow-clothed woman who followed the ice master raised her pretty wrist lightly and pointed her finger in Yizhan and Lan Si's direction. The feminine demon cultivator nodded and looked at the two with greed in his eyes. They both grabbed a piece each. The woman showed a gorgeous smile on her face and exchanged a glance with the cyan-clothed, masked man beside her. Then they both shot directly out towards Yizhan and Lan Si. Meanwhile, after the ice master left, the pressure that oppressed the demonic beasts below also dissipated. They roared and started biting at the pupils of the 10 distinguished clans again. Lu Muyen was curious about the battle between Ming Xiu and Ice Master and raised her foot, wanting to follow him. Yet who knew that after a few steps, several men in black rushed in from the outside. Suddenly, she felt an inexplicable sense of bad omen in her heart. The killing aura of these people was too heavy, and it didn't feel like they were here to contend for the heavenly frost golden crystal. Sure enough, the men looked around the cave once, and when they saw her, their eyes displayed endless murderous aura, then charged open an opening to surround her. Chapter 119. Siege to kill the people in black who arrived suddenly instantly attracted the attention of the others, but when they saw that their target was Lu Muyen, they were a little surprised. This woman really caused trouble wherever she went. A proper troublemaker. Who are you? Lu Muyen held the golden whip in one hand and kept forming hand seals with the other hand hidden beneath her sleeve. The killing intent in these people's eyes were too deep. It seemed that they were here precisely for her. The leading man in black had a hoarse and cold voice. You'll know when you see Yama. I sure want to see who's going to see Yama today. Lu Muyen said with a rare look of ferocity in her eyes. These people were really pushing her too hard. Ever since Gu Yen ran, they came to her door to provoke her one by one, all wanting her to die. Even a clay bodhisattva had some hot temper one. She was truly angered. Yenna. When Lu Mu Bai saw the 6 people in black surround Lu Muyen, he split the Tier 5 demonic beast before him in half, tapped his foot and leapt over beside her. You sure took the initiative to send yourself before us. The leader in black sneered and made a hand gesture to the 5. Kill. The other 5 people quickly spread out after observing his orders. Each drew out an identical longsword, channeled their elemental energy into it, then swung towards the 2 together. Upon seeing this, Yi Qinghan, Yun Lan and the others quickly resolved the fight with the demonic beasts they were in and leapt over one after the another. They drew their swords and brandished them, colliding with the several sword auras. Lu Muyen wasn't idle either, waving her whip continuously. Golden arced lights flew out from her whip, easily blocking 2 sword auras. Lu Mu Bei's long sword slashed in the air and several sounds of thunder and lightning rang from within the cave, slicing fiercely at the sword auras that headed for them. The leader in black obviously didn't expect that the combat power of the 2 would be so strong, and the strength of the few who suddenly came to reinforce them weren't weak either. There was a grimness in his eyes, then he roared, "Set the sword array." After his voice fell, the 5 men immediately flung the long swords in their hands into the sky that then interlaced and arranged themselves, forming an 8 trigram shape. The leading man bore ruthlessness in his eyes and took the lead to break a jade pendant on his neck. A power that didn't belong to him exploded in his dantian. He blew a breath of essence on the long sword in his hand and mumbled a few phrases. The long sword flew out of his hand and fell to the center of the 5 long swords. When the 5 people saw this, they didn't hesitate to tear off the jade pendants on their necks as well and break them, borrowing the external force to increase their cultivation base. When the leader reached peak phase Sword Monarch, and when the other 5 reached peak phase Sword King, they shot out 6 gray rays of elemental energy. It drew an arc in the air before entering the 6 long swords. 1. The 6 long swords buzzed as if they had intelligence. The sword body trembled a few times, then each flew up and slashed. Sword auras darted fiercely towards the Lu clan's brother and sister one by one. Lu Mu Bai huffed coldly, and a dark green leaf-shaped magic treasure flew out of his hand, greeting the rays of gray sword light stabbing towards them. The leaf spun around a few times in the air, slowly growing in size in the 4 directions, then immediately enveloped Lu Muyen and the others. Clash! The sword auras fell on the leaf and made countless crisp sounds. When the 6 men in black saw this, they sat cross-legged on the spot and kept forming hand seals in front of their chests. They bit the tip of their tongues until it bled and spouted a mouthful of blood each onto the sword array, using their bodies as the cauldron. As the formation of the hand seals sped up, the elemental energy they borrowed within their bodies also formed 6 vortexes above their heads, continuously channeling elemental energy into the 6 longswords. 1. The sword array hummed again, and the gray light brightened. Instantly, the sword aura that was originally diminishing, pressing down on Lu Mu Bei's leaf spirit treasure, was now replenished. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Clash clash. Sword auras clashed against the leaf relentlessly. Lu Mu Bei expelled a breath of essence onto the leaf and a soft, dark green light shot out from the leaves. With a sudden blow, the gray sword aura was finally blown away and disappeared, but a few cracks also appeared on the leaf. The 6 people were startled, their gaze fierce, then they sped up the transmission of elemental energy. The 6 swords within the sword array scattered from their formation of an 8 trigram and formed a 6-star attack force, shooting sword auras from the sword array one after the other. Yi Qing Han huffed coldly, and a seal carved with the white tiger flew from his hands. Suddenly, a huge white tiger appeared and roared in midair. Roar! With a loud roar, the white tiger's figure leapt out and wielded its 2 sharp claws, directly facing the sword auras, blocking the offensive sword auras again and again. Yun Lan and the others also released their own spirit treasures to withstand against the sword auras, creating a stalemate in the air, neither giving in to the other. Suddenly, 6 more people in the same black clothes rushed up the hillside and they immediately joined the battle when they saw the stalemate in front of them. Lord's secret envoy. As soon as they entered the cave, they respectfully greeted the leading man that was sitting cross-legged. Quickly formed the sword array. The man's cold voice sounded again. Yes. The several people immediately sat cross-legged and 6 of the same long swords flew out of their hands, instantly merging into the sword array. 1. The sword array shone brightly, creating a few pressuring hums. The 12 swords formed a 7-star force. This was the complete sword array. The 6 people broke the jade pendant on their necks and the energy from their dantian also formed vortexes above their heads, constantly sending elemental energy into the sword array. Boom! With the completed sword array, plus the power supply of 6 more peak phase Sword King cultivation bases, the sword auras within the sword array instantly shot out countless times, directly blasting back the spirit treasures of Lu Mu Bei and the others. Lu Mu Yan's hand gestures continued to change, and just when the sword auras broke through Yi Qing Han and the others' spirit treasure defenses, she expelled a breath and a fire dragon dashed out from behind her with momentum like thunder. An ice dragon then rushed up from in front of her, and the 2 dragons raised their heads in the air and roared, then greeted the countless sword auras that fell on their heads. Boom! The 2 different attribute dragons of fire elemental energy condensation and ice elemental energy condensation waved their claws, and the sword auras that neared were all dissipated. Yi Qing Han and the others were all prepared to be injured, so when they saw Lu Mu Yan's condensed flying dragons block and disperse the sword auras, they breathed a sigh of relief. Then they took out other spirit treasures to help. The leading man in black obviously didn't expect Lu Mu Yan to have such an ability. He gritted his teeth and his hoarse and cold voice echoed in the ears of the dozen men in black. Increase the power by another level. They must be killed today. After speaking, he took the lead and threw the broken jade in his hand onto the ground. The broken jade immediately turned into a pile of power, but there was also an invisible external force that penetrated into his body. And his cultivation base immediately broke through from peak phase Sword Monarch to initial phase Sword Sovereign. The other 11 also followed suit in turn, and their cultivation bases broke through peak phase Sword King, arriving at initial phase Sword Monarch. The 12 vortexes continuously expanded from the top of their heads and endless waves of dense elemental energy was channeled into the 7-star sword array. The gray energy in the sword array was even denser, and countless sword auras gathered, forming 2 giant sword phantoms that slashed straight towards the 2 flying dragons. Pang! The sound of violent impact resounded, and the 2 giant swords actually cut the 2 roaring flying dragons into 2 pieces. One comparison used to emphasize that everyone has a temper, even the kindest person. Chapter 120, Giant Swords and Blood Spirits. The power of the sword array was so strong that the ice and fire dragons were cut into 2, then gradually became transparent and dim. Go! The leading black-clothed man formed a Taoist seal and let out a low roar. The two giant sword phantoms condensed by sword auras cut down again, directly dispersing the two dragons. After the fire and ice dragons disappeared, the giant swords didn't stop, but instead cut straight towards Lu Mu Yen and Lu Mu Bai. Lu Mu Bai's eyes displayed a ruthlessness and firmness that he had never shown before. He bit his finger until it bled and chanted an obscure hex. A few drops of blood essence dripped, and finally all flew towards the middle of his brows. A layer of blood-red mist emitted from him, spreading through the entire sword array with an oppressing pressure. What surprised one was, not long after, two huge, blood-colored figures emerged from the blood fog, flying into the sky together, towards the two giant swords. Lu Mu Yen was startled. Her eldest brother's skill was a little too strange. The blood spirits that were conceived from one's own blood essence wasn't weaker than those two giant sword phantoms. This sort of skill definitely did great damage to the body. Her entire body emitted a cold determination, and a breath of essence sprayed from her mouth, mixed together with blood essence, landing in the place where the twin dragons were slayed earlier. Suddenly, two transparent jade belts of complicated talisman seals leapt in mid-air, lightly floating, and circled around Lu Mu Bai's blood spirits. The blood spirits instantly changed from blood red to dark red, and the mysterious jade band of Taoist seals continued to wound around. A soul-stirring power radiated from the blood spirits, causing the human cultivators and demon cultivators to cast their gazes one after another towards them, and many people were shocked. The leading black-clothed man also displayed shock and surprise in his eyes. He shut his eyes, then opened them again, replacing everything with decisiveness. He took out a sharp knife and pierced it straight into his own chest. Blood erupted out of his heart and poured into the elemental energy vortex above his head. The gray vortex doubled in size again, with a trace of blood in the middle, then the entire vortex flew directly into the sword array. The other 11 people took out their sharp knives and stabbed it into their chests. Similarly, 11 gray, blood-stained vortexes fell into the sword array. 1. The sword array uttered a huge hum, and the gray light illuminated the entire cave, extremely dazzling. Then, all the 12 longswords in the sword array actually shattered and turned into 12 gray sword auras that carried energy as if capable of destroying the heaven and earth. Then they plunged into the phantom of the two giant swords. The giant sword phantom swelled up one size, and it carried with it a feeling as if it would slice the heaven and destroy the earth as it slashed down. Lu Mu Bai and Lu Mu Yen channeled their entire Bodis elemental energy into the blood spirits. Yi Qing Han, Yun Lan and the others also didn't hesitate at all, each condensing an elemental energy ball of light in their palms and inserted it into the blood spirits. The brightness of the blood spirits also became a dazzling red. It grew meters by meters and its aura grew stronger and stronger, also having a faint feeling as if it would destroy the heaven and earth. It'll help you guys too. Lan Si, who was fighting the yellow-clothed female demon cultivator, tore apart a layer of the seal in his body. A violent elemental energy burst from his dantian, and his cultivation base rose until it was just about to break though. But he suddenly concentrated on turning the explosive elemental energy into a blue ball of light, flicked his finger lightly, and the ball of light instantly flew into the blood spirits. The elemental energy in his body also returned to calmness and his cultivation base was suppressed, staying at peak phase sword monarch. He smiled gently and elegantly at the yellow-clothed woman, then inserted a surplus of the elemental energy just now into his long sword and slashed at the woman. What? The woman never expected that a sword monarch strength human sword master would be this difficult to deal with. After all, she was an entire stage higher than the other. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, but now the attack from the opponent made her heart palpitate and a shadow of death birthed within her spontaneously. She immediately took out her strongest defense to protect herself. The sword aura fell on the demonic energy shield in front of her leisurely, but slowly corroding, and in only a moment, there were countless cracks like spider webs on the shield. The sword aura snuck out of those slits and shot directly onto the woman's body. The beautiful, yellow-clothed woman's eyes widened and looked at Lan Si in disbelief. She fell to the ground with flaccid eyes, her breathing slowly vanishing. When Lan Si tore open the seal, Yizhan also condensed the elemental energy within him into a light green ball of light and inserted it into the blood spirits. He put the flute in his hand to his mouth and blew it gently, then a string of graceful, rhythmic and remarkable music floated out from the flute. The cyan-clothed masked demon cultivator who was fighting him suddenly appeared as if he were being disturbed by something in his mind, and his demonic consciousness was dazed for a moment. But the moment he used his will to forcibly recover, his Yaofu that was hidden within his dantian was destroyed by an invisible energy. A cyan demonic beast crystal core burst out from within him. Yizhan stretched out his hand and grabbed for it, and the crystal core fell into his hand. In addition to observing Lu Mu Yen and the others battle with the black-clothed men, the other sword sovereigns and elite pupils also watched the battles of Yizhan and Lan Si. At this time, their eyes all opened wide. These two people sure hid their abilities well. The two Tier 7 transformation stage demon cultivators were just defeated like that by them, without a sound. The sword sovereigns who were originally tempted by the heavenly frost golden crystal and wanted to snatch it, together with the original two demon cultivators, also stopped in their steps and looked at the two with fear. Yizhan and Lan Si's actions were practically identical, but it was all in an instant, all happening before what occurred to the giant swords and the blood spirits. Roar! With Yizhan and Lan Si's elemental energy ball of light inserted, the blood spirits uttered a deafening roar across the sky. The blood sprit's figure continued to grow, then finally turned into a blood-colored giant. They also contained a power as if capable of destroying the heaven and earth. Then they slapped their hands towards the two giant sword phantoms. The pupils with low cultivation bases were all stunned by the roar and bled from their ears and nose. The sword sovereigns of the 10 distinguished clans immediately took action upon seeing this and condensed a shield with elemental energy to envelop all the elite pupils. These were all the best elite pupils of their clans and definitely couldn't be lost because of this training, otherwise they wouldn't be able to explain after returning. With the shield of the strong sword sovereigns, the pupils below avoided the possibility of severe injuries and death. While they sighed with relief, they all looked up at the blood spirits and giant swords. At this time, the power emanating from the blood spirits and giant swords was that even the strong sword sovereigns didn't dare approach. Otherwise they'd definitely be severely injured if they didn't die. Boom! The blood spirits grabbed the two giant swords with their hands and a force that shook the sky and earth instantly burst out after the collision within the cave. Even including Yizhan and Lan Si, the other sword sovereigns' expressions also changed, and they quickly channeled more elemental energy to strengthen their shields to protect the safety of the pupils below. Bang bang! The two forces exploded and offset each other, shooting straight into the sky, and actually blasted a huge hole in the active volcano. The cave shook violently, and the falling rocks rolled down. After more than 10 breaths of time, those two forces dissipated into the horizon, together with the feeling of fear. Piu! Lu Mu Yen and Lu Mu by each spouted a mouthful of blood and took a few steps back. But the 12 men in black weren't much better. Blood stained them all red, but they looked at Lu Mu Yen with crazy and bloodshot eyes. The 11 people then used a secret skill to cast their last breath of life out from their bodies that then converged into the leading black-clothed man. The man suddenly burst into the air when no one was prepared, rushing straight towards Lu Mu Yen. Chapter 121. This Highness wants to see who dares kill her? At this time, Lu Mu Yen was extremely deficit in elemental energy. Due to the battle of skills, the remaining pressure of the giant swords still injured her internally, forcing her back a few steps. The leading, black-clothed man originally used the mysterious external energy to force his sword monarch cultivation base to initial phase sword sovereign, so now, although he was stabbed in the chest with his life in danger, he still gathered the 11 black-clothed men's life force. It was as if the last radiance of the sun, the last burst of energy, so his strength would naturally not be weak. Lu Mu Yen gritted her teeth, and the mental energy in her sea of consciousness surged layer by layer, forming a spiral tornado-like shape which gradually emerged from her sea of consciousness. When the leading black-clothed man was near Lu Mu Yen, he gathered all the remaining elemental energy into the longsword in his hand. The gray sword aura was like an abrupt gust of wind and rain, mixed with the sound of violent wind, and he shot it straight towards her forehead. Lu Mu Yan's eyes were stained with coldness, and the light in her eyes were exceptionally sharp and pressuring. So what if there wasn't any elemental energy left in her body? She wasn't afraid. A Taoist seal quickly formed in her hand, and the helical tornado condensed from her mental energy in her sea of consciousness flew out from her body, quickly rotating, and instantly greeted the grand gray sword aura. Wherever the tornado went, there was also a jade-colored vermilion bird formed from a transparent rune. With a long cry, it spread its wings with the pride of a divine beast, then plunged into the misty gray sword aura. Silence. Everyone's gaze within the cave all gathered at the sword aura in midair and the rune vermilion bird that emerged from Lu Mu Yan's body. Although Lu Mu Yan's mental energy was suppressed by this interface, but it was still 2 or 3 phases above her current cultivation base. It was also hidden by her secret skill, so no one felt the tornado made from mental energy that was surrounding the vermilion bird. Whoosh whoosh. A few sounds of wind rang across the ears of the people in the silence. Then the vermilion bird that spread its wings and flew up high, raised its head and cried into the air again. It gradually became transparent with that pride until it disappeared. The gray sword aura instantly became very dim, but it still maintained an offensive stance. It was weakened, but it still continued to move forward with the power capable of killing a sword king. Destroy! A string of blood spilled from Lu Mu Yan's lips, and she spit out a word heavily. Then the spiral tornado formed by her mental energy turned into countless tentacles, grabbing the gray sword aura that rushed towards her. Everyone opened their eyes wide in amazement and shock, watching the gray sword aura appear as if it were being blocked by some sort of force, cracking in midair, without a sound, then disintegrating and disappearing. Piu! Lu Mu Yen spouted a few mouthfuls of blood consecutively, and her face instantly turned pale. Her condensed mental energy also disappeared in the sky together with the gray sword aura. But she could no longer bear the aftereffect of forcibly using her trump cards and was extremely weak. The leading, black-clothed man also suffered backlash and spewed out a few mouthfuls of blood, but his eyes were exceptionally bloodshot right now, as if a vengeful ghost crawling out from hell. Then he slapped his chest fiercely. All the power in his body gathered at his heart. He let out a crazed laugh, forcibly burned his life force, eventually turning it into a strong, shocking force that exploded within him. He took out a dagger and channeled all the energy into it. His eyes carried a sharp viciousness, and he flew straight towards Lu Mu Yan's heart, saying with a hoarse and cold voice, "I'll see how you dodge this time. This old man must complete this mission and kill you here today, even if it costs me my own life." Lu Mu Yen clutched her chest and closed her eyes. When she opened her eyes, she looked coldly and indifferently at the dagger flying towards her with a violent force. She had tried her best. Life or death was up to fate, so what was there to fear? Because the speed of the leader in black was too fast, the others such as Yi Zhan and Lan Si simply had no time to rescue her, so they could only watch the dagger approach her chest. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, Yenner. Mu Yen. Several powerless, desperate, and hopeless roars sounded, heart-wrenching. Lu Mu Yan's exceptionally beautiful face bloomed with a gorgeous smile, and her lips overflowed with an arc which actually made her look bewitching. It wasn't so easy to kill her. She moved her soul energy to her forehead and wrapped it with the remaining energy in her heart. As long as her soul wasn't destroyed, then she could still live. At most, she'd wait for a few decades until her bodice remade, but when that time came, she would surely stomp on the mastermind behind these men in black and refine them, making them unable to reincarnate forever. Roar! Suddenly a beast roar sounded, carrying a fearsome pressure. The tuft of flame-like fur at the center of the forehead of the small white beast on Lu Mu Yan's shoulder appeared as if alive. He leapt to the ground and his body rapidly enlarged by 2 sizes. Suddenly, a red light rushed out from between his brows and greeted the powerful dagger. Clank! The dagger made a crisp sound and was hit to the ground by the red light. There was disbelief in the man's eyes. He didn't expect that in order to hunt down Lu Mu Yen, who was only at Sword Spirit Cultivation Base, their entire army would be wiped out, and not only that, now she even evaded their killing skills again and again. Feeling the aura of death on him begin to spread throughout his body, and his breath gradually weakening, he made the last insane move. He used a secret skill to burn his flesh and blood, then finally his entire body turned into a ball of fire, circled the air twice and flew down towards Lu Mu Yen with purpose. He's going to self-destruct. A sword sovereign couldn't help explaining. Currently, most of the others were extremely shocked, not only shocked by Lu Mu Yan's combat power, but also shocked by these men in black who were full of different killing methods. Just who were these people? This kind of insane killing was like the doing of an organization of sacrificial assassins that were made to specifically hide in the darkness. They had never seen these secret skills of advancing one's cultivation base, and of burning their own flesh and blood. When did such a mysterious force emerge in the eastern region? Vigilance now grew in the sword sovereigns and the sword monarchs of the 10 distinguished clans. Seeing Lu Mu Yen and the spirit pet on her shoulders both listless, simply unable to meet the self-destructive energy of flesh and blood, several sword sovereigns felt powerless. They could only pity that it would be difficult to inquire about the whereabouts of the marrow-cleansing pill. The leading, black-clothed man used killer moves each time he acted, and his speed was so fast that they simply couldn't help at all. Even if they had the ability, they didn't want to help an outsider and be left with severe injuries. Yi Zhan wanted to help, but a large part of his elemental energy was turned into a ball of light and merged into the blood spirit. Even his speed to block simply couldn't match the speed of that self-destructive power. Just when Lan Si was about to unveil the second seal using his mind, when Mo Yen was releasing all the demonic energy within his dantian, preparing to sacrifice 1/3 of his demonic spirit to utilize his innate talent, and when Lu Mu Yen was protecting her soul between her brows, prepared to meet the ball of fire, suddenly, a dazzling golden sword aura whizzed down violently from the top of the mountain where a hole was previously blasted. The resonance of the sword resounded throughout the air, and the tip of the sword was bedazzling, as if the scorching sun was directly overhead. "This highness wants to see who dares kill her." A cold and domineering voice reverberated in the mountains, with a powerful, imposing manner, shocking many people to squat and hug their heads in agony, blood surging inwardly. As the overbearing and fierce voice echoed, the golden light slashed straight towards the ball of fire. With just a touch, the fireball that was the black-clothed sword sovereign made from his flesh and blood in an attempt to self-destruct, was completely annihilated by the golden sword light falling from the sky. Lu Mu Yen immediately stopped the seal she was preparing to use to put her soul into a deep sleep, and looked up, with a pale face, at the man in red that was about to land from the sky. But a scene that no one expected occurred. Lu Mu Yen stood beside the lava pool listlessly with a bloodless complexion and had just taken out a porcelain bottle to pour the pills into her mouth. Suddenly, a figure flashed from the side and a palm of wind came from that figure, landing on Lu Mu Yan's shoulder heavily. At this time, she had exhausted all her elemental energy, had only retained a trace of the source of her mental energy in her sea of consciousness, and was injured internally, so there was simply no time to counterattack and defend herself. After being hit by the palm of wind, her body flew out uncontrollably. She was originally only 3 steps away from the lava pool, so this inexplicable assault pushed her straight into the boiling hot lava. Splash! Like the sound of falling into water, everyone saw the white, delicate figure directly fall into the lava pool that was still bubbling fire, and in only a glance, her body disappeared into the lava. Yenner! Lu Mu Bai let out a shrill and immediately rushed towards the lava to jump down but was held back tightly by Ling Fei Hao and Fu Qin. Yi Qing Han, Yun Lan and the others also couldn't believe it as they stared at the lava blankly. Lu Mu Yen was gone just like that? That couldn't be. That spirited and lovely woman couldn't be gone just like that. Woman! Ming Xiu dashed and landed above the lava pool, his eyes scarlet, carrying a strong, ferocious and murderous aura, as if the reincarnation of Azura one. He glanced icily at Hu Fei, who had just made the sneak attack, and found that the opponent was trembling from his gaze in fear. A cruel smile rose on his lips. This was an expression of extreme anger. He raised his hand and gently waved his sleeves. A strong force hit Hu Fei. Boom! Hu Fei's body was immediately blasted into countless pieces, flesh and blood by the force, horrible to look at. Ming Xiu grabbed with his right hand, and he forcibly pulled out a transparent light from the self-destructed body that had shattered. This was Hu Fei's soul. Then he immediately sealed it inside a black bottle. This action was completed at the speed of thunder and lightning. After putting away the black bottle, he didn't hesitate at all and dived right into the lava pool. Is he crazy? One of the sword sovereigns couldn't help exclaiming. The lava carried a fearful, soul-stirring power that consumed. Unless one was a sword venerable powerhouse, otherwise if one was touched by the lava, they would undoubtedly die. In the hearts of countless people, they all believed that Lu Mu Yen had probably already turned into a pool of blood and melted into the lava. The mysterious strong man in red was seeking his own death. Lan Si stared at the disappearing figure of Ming Xiu thoughtfully, his heart exceptionally moved. This man had reached the point of dying with Lu Mu Yen in the name of love? Obviously not. Then it proved that Lu Mu Yen wasn't dead at all. Thinking of this, there was a glimmer of light and hope in his eyes. Yener. Lu Mu Bei's expression was full of agony, and he wanted to break free from the shackles of Ling Fei Hao and Fu Qin to jump down into the lava and find his younger sister. He was emotional, and seeing that, Lan Si sighed. He flicked a blue light from his hand and inserted it into Lu Mu Bei's body. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks on alert. Lu Mu Bei's eyelids shut suddenly, and he fainted. Take him down to rest. He won't take up for 3 days. Lan Si ordered Fu Qin. Fu Qin nodded, looked at the lava with pity, then lifted Lu Mu Bei up and sat down in the corner of the cave to guard him. Elder brother, elder sister Mu Yen will be fine, right? Yi Qingla couldn't believe what she'd just seen. She ran to Yi Qing Han and tugged his sleeve, asking in tears. Yi Qing Han sobered from his dazed state, as if having lost his soul. He shook his head with a bitter expression. She must be fine. His tone was heavy, not sure whether it was to comfort himself or to comfort Yi Qinglu. The inexplicable pain in his heart that had never felt before attacked him wave by wave. He sat down on the spot and locked his eyes tightly on the lava pool, motionless. There was deep grief in Yunlan's eyes. He walked to the lava pool without saying a word and sat cross-legged, hoping that the sweet, smiling woman would suddenly jump out of it. Yun Jin stared at the lava pool in disbelief. Lu Mu Yen was dead? Impossible. It was definitely impossible for that cunning woman to die like that. Qi Yixian clenched his hand above his heart. Bursts of heart-piercing pain spread all over his body. He looked at the lava pool in despair, but a hope rose in his heart. He also didn't believe that woman would disappear like this forever. Xiao Ziong's face was pale. He covered his mouth to prevent himself from making a sound. How did this happen? Mo Yan's indifferent eyes also displayed complexity and worry at the same time. But he and Lu Mu Yen were contracted, so he could feel that the other party was still alive despite being exceptionally weak. His hovering heart was slightly relieved, but he couldn't set it back down yet. He walked to the side of the lava pool and laid on his stomach, waiting while recovering. After Lu Mu Yen was knocked down the lava pool, she quickly fell towards the depths of the center of the lava. Her eyes were tightly closed, her long eyelashes left a shadow on her face, and her breath was weak as her consciousness automatically protected itself and entered into a state of deep sleep. The lava pool here contained the essence of the entire ice volcano. If humans or demonic beasts below Sword Venerable were to be touched with even just a slight bit of lava, they would melt instantly. Currently, Lu Mu Yen was surrounded by a layer of blue, fluorescent light circles, and every time the hot lava flow surging around her met the circle of light, it would avoid it as if its nemesis. While the origin of the blue, fluorescent light came from the ice bangle on Lu Mu Yan's right wrist. There were inexplicable waves from the depths of the lava, as if beckoning something. Then Lu Mu Yan's body was sucked into the deepest part of the lava by a mysterious force. If someone was here, they would definitely cry out in alarm. After Lu Mu Yan fell into a whirlpool deep in the lava, she automatically separated from the lava and fell directly on a dark red rock mixed with pale gold. Perhaps no one would have imagined that the deep center of the lava pool, the essence of the ice volcano, would lead to a clearing. The clearing and the fiery lava were separated by a layer of black space, and they couldn't penetrate each other. After falling into the lava, Ming Xiu automatically established a shield and quickly swam down to find Lu Mu Yan. He felt the aura of the ice bangle that had unsealed. This meant that Lu Mu Yan wouldn't die. But he was still extremely anxious, burning with impatience. After living for 20 years, he felt the pain of heartache for the first time. While in the depths of the lava, he discovered that the aura of the ice bracelet and Lu Mu Yan suddenly disappeared. His heart jumped, then he closed his eyes and stretched out his left hand, pinching a complicated seal. After a long time, a faint, unsteady connection was transmitted to his heart, and he finally found the direction of the ice bangle's aura. Ming Xiu opened his eyes, took out the golden longsword, and slashed countless times at the depths of the lava. When he found that in the depths of the lava and turbulent space, a crack appeared, he immediately rushed up and flew in quickly. Chapter 123, Purple Gold Spirit Flame. In a quiet space, a woman in white laid silently on a rock with her eyes closed. She was enveloped by a flickering icy blue circle of light, and the scorching fire spiritual force around her was completely isolated outside. Drops of blood ran down her injured right arm, and it slowly merged into the ice bangle on her pretty wrist. With each drop that blended into the ice bangle, the blue light would flash once. Lu Mu Yan slept deeply, warm and peaceful, as if she were in the embrace of her mother. Gradually, her soul returned to its origin from the seal at the center of her brows. The ice bangle stopped absorbing her blood essence, and some blue gas entered her body through her meridians. Soon, the blue gas swam around along the meridians, then restored the areas that were internally injured in one cosmic orbit around her body. Finally, it sank into her dantian and slowly merged with the light green mist that wound around her dantian. After the light green mist absorbed the blue gas, its green color gradually grew darker, and it expanded infinitely around Lu Mu Yan's dantian, then finally merged into her dantian. Within the dantian, what was originally like a light green lake of mist began to expand continuously and turned into a sea of green fog, mysterious and distant. And it wasn't only Lu Mu Yan that had changed. Her spirit pet bangle suddenly opened automatically, and a white, fluorescent Jiao egg popped out spontaneously, landing directly next to a cluster of purple gold flames not far from her. As if leaping for joy, the white Jiao egg circled around the purple gold flame, then landed quietly, and strands of purple gold flames climbed onto the eggshell, as if helping it hatch. Not long after, Lu Mu Yan's long and dense eyelashes moved, and she opened her eyes. She looked around in confusion at first, then finally sat up. Seeing that there was an extra layer of blue light wrapped around her body, she touched the ice bangle on her wrist. Feeling the obvious gentle intention that the ice bangle exuded, she realized that the connection between them had deepened a lot, and she even felt the ice bangle's closeness and fondness of her. Who knew that the injury this time would accidentally make the ice bangle recognize its master? Lu Mu Yan caressed the ice bangle, conveying her own fondness for it in return, and mumbled to herself. Except her cultivation base was too low, and right now, she simply couldn't get a glimpse into the ice bangle's secrets. There seemed to be a voice in her sea of consciousness that told her that she could only unlock the ice bangle when she reached Sword Monarch cultivation base. Lu Mu Yan's bright eyes were like stars, and she felt a little expectant in her heart. She had more than enough patience to wait. She looked down at the ice bangle. "I won't let you sit in dust. You will be my Lu Mu Yan's partner from now on." The ice bangle's glistening light, as if understanding her inner thoughts, brightened a bit, setting off her bright wrists even more white. After communicating their intentions to each other, Lu Muyan's mood was also a lot cheerier. She turned her head and scrutinized the environment she was in carefully. This space was small, composed of countless dark red rocks mixed with light gold. Each rock carried a scorching hot fire source as if it could melt a person. If it weren't for the protection of the ice bangle, she was afraid that it would have been difficult for her to survive here, let alone be able to move around here freely. Then, Lu Muyan shifted her gaze to a dazzling place not far from her. There was a cluster of purple-gold flames that kept leaping about, carrying with it a fearful, soul-stirring pressure. Beside it, there was a bright and clean white egg surrounded by strands of sparks overflowing from the flames. The purple-gold spirit flame. The very inborn mutant flame that was only born in the spirit world every tens of thousands of years was actually born here. It truly was a marvel. Lu Muyan didn't get close. She and the white Jiao egg was already contracted, so she knew that it was currently using the energy of the spirit flame to incubate itself. She wasn't worried and instead felt as if she had a child that was finally growing up. With bright eyes, she scanned the spars scattered around the purple-gold spirit flame. In dark, purple-gold shells, the purple-gold solidified liquid was clearly visible inside. Then she smiled brightly. This time, she was going to make a fortune. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks the spars scattered here and there was the heavenly frost golden essence, the quintessence of the condensation of numerous heavenly frost golden crystals. In the spirit world, these were spiritual items that could even cause great ascension stage cultivators to desire it and compete for it. She didn't immediately put away the heavenly frost golden essence, but instead sat cross-legged on a rock to recover. The internal injuries were already healed by the ice bangle, but her spiritual energy was still empty. She took out a bottle of spiritual energy replenishing pills and poured it into her mouth to refine. The spiritual energy quickly penetrated into her dantian through the pills, passed through that sea of green fog, circled around in a cosmic orbit, then finally spread to the meridians all over her body. Traces of the spiritual force of heaven and earth condensed from all around her, forming a spiritual force tempest, swarming into her body. Lu Muyan absorbed the rich, dense fire element spiritual force in this space to her heart's content, making her suddenly become vaguely aware of an indescribable profound concept of the fire elemental energy law. Every time she absorbed the spiritual force to transform into spiritual energy, it would all be filtered through that sea of green fog, and the spiritual energy that spread throughout her body was purer by more than double compared to before. She closed her eyes, comprehending the fire elemental energy law while absorbing the spiritual force frantically. A day later, when she opened her eyes again, the colors in her eyes became deeper, as if an enigmatic deep pool that contained everything. Crack! At this moment, the white eggshell made a cracking sound, and the strands of purple-gold flames instantly integrated into the eggshell. After a while, a small, white snake with the thickness of a little finger poked itself out of the eggshell. As soon as it opened its eyes, it ate all the eggshell with excitement bit by bit, and its body grew from more than 1 inch to 5 or 6 inches. After swallowing the eggshell, it suddenly swept its tail, then spun itself upwards, landing directly on Lu Muyan's wrist, touching her palm affectionately with its head. Lu Muyan had never contracted a snake spirit pet before. She lowered her head to see that the pure white body of the little snake was as crystal clear as jade, and there was a lightning-like golden mark in the center of its brows, unusually mysterious. With a soft smile on her lips, she gently stroked the little snake's head with her fingers. After thinking a bit, she formed a Taoist seal and pressed it onto the little snake's brow area. A transparent, jade-colored rune penetrated into the little snake's forehead, and the lightning-like golden mark at the center of its brows instantly disappeared, hidden, as if it had never appeared before. It'll temporarily seal the mark between your brows. When we're not afraid of all the powerhouses on this continent, is when you'll unlock the seal. Lu Muyan raised her wrist and looked at the little snake gently. The little snake entered into a contract with Lu Mu Yen before its eggshell was even formed, so at this moment, it completely treated her as its mother. Naturally, it wouldn't object to her doing so. It still affectionately rubbed her palm with its small head, expressing its joy. Lu Mu Yan's heart was also softened by this affectionate act. She rubbed its little head with her thumb and was fond of this little thing from the bottom of her heart. Jean Miao, that will be your name from now on. Lu Mu Yen gently caressed its head. How about I call you Miao Miao from now on? This name was also what the pure frost Jiao Wen told her telepathically before it disappeared. She would naturally obey the last wish of a great mother. The little white snake rubbed her palm and conveyed that it liked the name very much through its sea of consciousness. Then it also stretched its head in the direction of the purple gold spirit flame, calling to Lu Mu Yen, hiss, hiss. Lu Mu Yen flicked Jean Miao's forehead dotingly and said, clever little child. This little thing wanted her to quickly collect the purple gold spirit flame. As expected from a spirit pet that she contracted in harmony with her soul, it knew her heart's desire. I am once again taking the liberty of changing the translation of a name that I translated myself out, mainly because I translated the Qi in Qihan Jiao as Scarlet. Therefore it became Scarlet Frost Jiao. But based on various clues, I can say that the being is in no way the color scarlet, and I don't think scarlet has anything to do with this being. Actually has another translation, bare/naked. I guess it could also mean completely, e.g. completely frost, etc. Pure has some of that connotation and sounds better to me, huh? This is all probably really irrelevant to everything, but just an FYI. Chapter 124. Collect the Spirit Flame, Break Through Sword King. Lu Mu Yen walked to the purple gold spirit flame's side and saw that the flame that was constantly jumping around suddenly grew in one size. She curled her lips and smiled. The purple gold spirit flame was indeed full of cleverness. Fortunately, it had just evolved and was just born, so it had yet to bear wisdom, otherwise it wouldn't be easy to subdue it today. The purple gold spirit flame was a spiritual item born from heaven and earth. It had its own pride and spontaneously rejected being subdued by others. Therefore, its flame instinctively jumped and expanded in reaction to Lu Mu Yan's approach, and a heat source generated from its core formed an oppressive cyclone that was released towards her. With a thought from Lu Mu Yen, a bright blue light burst from the ice bangle to block the violent flame cyclone outside. She sat cross-legged next to the purple gold spirit flame, and her dantian began to spin, withstanding the rioting of the flames, as her hands danced lightly in the air. Her slender hands flipped, and she snapped her fingers, then white balls of spiritual energy jumped out from her fingertips one by one, as if snowflakes fluttering down, instantly falling onto every wisp of the purple gold spirit flame. She was once a high-level alchemist in the spirit world in her previous life, so she naturally had conquered a spirit flame for her own use. Except, compared to the purple gold spirit flame, it was still inferior. She once accepted the inheritance of a heavenly grade alchemist in a secret realm, so in addition to inheriting ways of refining pills and pill recipes, she also received a method that specialized in subduing and refining spirit flames, decreasing the feelings of repulsion. The focus of this method was on agreement rather than subduing through suppression. This meant that after using the method, the entire person would exude an attraction that could be felt by the spirit flame, reducing the feeling of repulsion. Finally, she would transform the spiritual force into nutrients to nourish the spirit flame. When the mental energy was connected, she would immediately absorb and refine it. She must also regard the spirit flame as part of her life, and not a plaything to order around. Subduing the spirit flame and refining it originally had to be used in conjunction with a kind of pill to reduce rejection and harm to her internal organs. After all, it was extremely dangerous to absorb this sort of spiritual item into her body. Without the spirit pill that could suppress it, the chance of success in refining it was very small. If one was careless, they'd receive backlash from the spirit flame, becoming ashes and smoke. She still lacked a few main spirit herbs on her to be able to refine that sort of spirit pill, so if she forcefully absorbed and refined it, then there was a high probability that she'd receive backlash. However, the ice bangle had already recognized her as its master, and although she couldn't unlock it and use it, but she could still borrow the power contained in it. She knew that the mysterious power in the ice bangle could perfectly suppress the spirit flame. That's why she was determined to give it a try. When the purple gold flame was covered by the white balls of light, Lu Mu Yen chanted an obscure hex, her eyes flashed sharply, and she whispered, "Collect." The purple gold flame was suddenly uprooted by the white ball of light, then with a shoo, it flew straight into Lu Mu Yan's dantian. Gasp! Scorching pain suddenly came from her dantian, which made her gasp uncontrollably. She took a deep breath and immediately mobilized the green sea of fog in her dantian to envelop the ball of purple gold flame. The ice bangle that was in harmony with her soul made sound, and strands of blue gas overflowed from the bangle, entering into her dantian. Lu Mu Yen endured the heart-wrenching pain and mobilized the method in her body. Waves of coolness came from her dantian, but she still couldn't get rid of the pain. It was as if she was thrown into a stove and roasted. Her face was flushed, a layer of red appeared on her white skin, and her body was frighteningly hot. There was a rush of burning pain in her heart. She bit her lower lip tightly with her teeth to prevent herself from making a sound. Fine sweat filled her forehead, and her white clothes were quickly drenched by her sweat as a few strands of hair stuck to her pale face. She slightly trembled all over, closed her eyes and used all her willpower to support herself not to faint. Her cultivation base was too low. If she didn't forcibly support herself and use the method, as well as the ice bangle's power to relieve the fire power in her body, she was afraid that her internal organs would have been burned to ashes. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, she forced herself into a state of emptiness and calmness, enduring the pain and laboriously mobilized the spiritual energy that carried green fog in her body. If it were another person, they'd probably have been tortured by the piercing pain and gave up long ago. But she worked hard to withstand it tenaciously, not letting herself give up at all. Her temperament was as such, stubborn and unyielding, and upon meeting the strong, she would become even stronger. After half a day, the moment Ming Xiu, who broke through from the layer of space, landed on the rock, he saw the woman in white sitting not far away. Her exceptionally beautiful little face was currently pale with an abnormal blush. Her clothes were drenched with sweat, revealing her exquisite jade-like body. Her lower lip was bitten open as a few drops of blood fell, and she appeared slightly bewitching. Her brows were furrowed together, and the pained expression was one that Ming Xiu had never seen before, but it also contained a kind of firmness and tenacity which made her whole person glow with the charm of striving to become stronger, uninhibited, and domineering. So what if the purple gold spirit flame was precious, rare, and powerful? They'll still want to subdue you and refine you. This was Lu Mu Yen. The face under Ming Xiu's mask grew solemn. Seeing Lu Mu Yen in such a state and feeling the fluctuations of this space, he naturally guessed what had happened earlier. This little woman was simply too bold and reckless. She dared to take the risk of subduing a spirit flame with the cultivation base of a sword spirit. Although it seemed that she wasn't far from success, but his heart still ached seeing her suffering. Ming Xiu took off his mask, revealing that unparalleled, beautiful, devilishly charming face. Ming Xiu's long and thin phoenix eyes narrowed, and his thin lips pressed together tightly. Then he sat cross-legged behind Lu Mu Yen, formed a few Taoist seals in front of his chest, and placed his two palms on her back. A trace of wood attribute elemental energy flowed from his palms and fused into her body, as well as fusing into her heart, little by little. From the moment someone entered this space, Lu Mu Yen had discovered it, but when she felt that the aura was Ming Xiu, she let go of much of the vigilance that she had raised. The trace of wood attribute elemental energy that entered her body suddenly cleared her slightly groggy consciousness. The purple gold spirit flame that had shrunk several times in her dantian was also suppressed by an external force. With a start, she took the opportunity to mobilize the green sea of fog to envelop the small wisp of purple gold flame in her dantian, quickly refining it. Borrowing Ming Xiu's power, she saved a lot of time, and the pain was also suppressed a lot. With a clear mind, she utilized the method to permeate into the spirit flame and showed it kindness. Her spiritual sense slowly merged into the spirit flame, and the green sea of fog surged ceaselessly, as if layers of breaking waves. A day later, the last of the purple gold flame in Lu Mu Yan's dantian vanished, and the flush on her face and body eventually disappeared. After another day, there was a very faint purple gold light that appeared in the green sea of fog in her dantian. And Lu Mu Yan, who had her eyes closed and was meditating, didn't immediately withdraw from the state of refining. She successfully refined the purple gold spirit flame, but also because of the power of the spirit flame and the crazy absorption of spiritual force from before, the bottleneck that she was stuck at for her cultivation was broken through. When she reached peak phase sword spirit, she still decided to grit her teeth and used the last wave of fire elemental energy to strike and break through the final bottleneck. Such an opportunity was very rare, and she would suffer a loss if she didn't use this opportunity to advance to Sword King. 3 days later, when the fire elemental energy spiritual force in this space was completely absorbed and exhausted by her, the spiritual force body tempering was also completed. A 7-colored light enveloped Lu Mu Yan and the pressure of a Sword King streamed out unconsciously like a torrent. When the 7-colored light disappeared, she opened her eyes, and as soon as she raised them, she met the pair of clear and deep obsidian-like black eyes that carried a devilishly captivating charm as if it could suck one into them. Chapter 125. Seeing you in pain, I will also be in pain. Lu Mu Yan was startled. She found that Ming Xiu's narrow and long phoenix eyes were filled with an inexplicable anger. You followed me down here? Aside from this reason, she couldn't think of other reasons for why Ming Xiu would go deep into the lava pool. Ming Xiu walked up to Lu Mu Yan and stretched out his hand to gently stroke her chin that still had some dried-up blood. Seeing her in a daze, he chuckled gently, naturally. As soon as Lu Mu Yan lowered her head, she saw Ming Xiu's distinctively bony, white, and slender hands stopped by the side of her lips. The force on his hand was very light, and his fingertips carried a thin layer of calluses left from practicing swords, but they weren't rough. It stroked past her lower lip, and her heart felt as if it was being tickled by a feather, tingling and numb. Just why are you so bold? Ming Xiu's hands continued to rest on Lu Mu Yan's soft, tender face, and sighed slightly. Lu Mu Yan was dumbfounded. What? Why she was so bold? What did that mean? You actually dare to absorb and refine the purple gold spirit fire without anyone else with you. Do you dislike having a long life? Ming Xiu raised an eyebrow and the strength in his hands increased a little. Lu Mu Yan furrowed her brows. She was still a little uncomfortable with such intimate actions, so she turned her head away from the hands that were making mischief and said leisurely, "Thank you very much for your help, but I also did it because I had confidence." Ming Xiu used his wood attribute elemental energy to help relieve her of the scorching pain and helped her suppress the purple gold spirit fire, which indeed reduced the time required for her to refine it, as well as reducing the pain, but even without him, she'd just need to spend some more time and she'd still be able to succeed. I know, but seeing you in such pain, I will also be in pain. Ming Xiu's boundless, deep eyes carried some emotions, as if a spring breeze trying to enter into the depths of the woman's heart opposite. Lu Mu Yan didn't expect that Ming Xiu, this devilish man, could say such cheesy words. Her face was unconsciously dyed with a layer of light pink, and there was an indescribable feeling in her heart, like sweetness, but she was also at a loss. How did you come down here? What about the ice one that fought with you? Ming Xiu didn't want to scare the little woman back either, so it was better to take their relationship slowly. He had already woven a big net, and at the same time as placing himself in the net, had also pulled the woman he loved into it. After I dealt with that bird, I felt your aura gradually weaken. When I rushed over, I was still too careless and let you be shot down into the lava pool by a sneak attack. I was afraid something would happen to you, so I followed. Ming Xiu indeed blamed himself inwardly. He destroyed the self-destructing blood and flesh fireball, but he didn't prevent that small side character who suddenly appeared. In the end, he was slow by half a beat and let Lu Mu Yen be injured. Speaking of Hu Fei, Lu Mu Yan's eyes grew cold. At the time, it wasn't that she didn't detect Hu Fei's killing intent, but her spiritual energy was completely exhausted, and she wasn't able to respond to the sneak attack. Who would have thought that Hu Fei would risk his life to kill me? He was very close to me at the time, and his sneak attack was too fast, so it's normal for you to not have been able to stop it. She didn't blame Ming Xiu, and instead, thanked him in her heart. If it weren't for his golden sword aura annihilating the attack of that black-clothed man, she might have already used Soul Seal. By the way, did you deal with Hu Fei when you came down? Based on her understanding of Ming Xiu, this man shouldn't have let Hu Fei go so easily. Ming Xiu took out a black porcelain bottle from his interspatial ring and handed it to Lu Mu Yen. I shattered his body and threw his soul into this soul confinement bottle. He had absolutely no worry that Lu Mu Yen would feel that his actions were cruel. He believed she understood him. Sure enough, Lu Mu Yen took the bottle without a change in expression, opened it and used her mental energy to probe into it. She found that Hu Fei's soul was currently very weak and was on the verge of collapse. He was probably deliberately tortured by Ming Xiu's methods. She withdrew her mental energy and smiled. Can you temporarily keep it so that his soul won't be destroyed? I suspect that he's related to the group of people in black who tried to assassinate me. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, leave it to me. Ming Xiu thought the same way, so after torturing Hu Fei's soul, he didn't destroy it directly. All right. Lu Mu Yen nodded with a smile. She believed that with this man's methods, Hu Fei would spit out the clues he knew very soon. When she found the culprits behind them, and when the time was right, she'd definitely personally arrive at their door and properly calculate their total debt. After that, Lu Mu Yen cast her gaze on the scattered heavenly frost golden essence where the purple gold spirit flame was before. She raised an eyebrow and said to Ming Xiu, "How about half-half?" "Sure." Ming Xiu glanced at the heavenly frost golden essence and didn't conceal the fiery desire in his eyes. His temperament was so that he didn't like to be quarrelsome. This thing was of great use to him. Lu Mu Yen grabbed in that direction, then the heavenly frost golden essence was divided into precisely 2 portions in front of her and Ming Xiu. The two put away their portions, then Ming Xiu took out the 3 pieces of heavenly frost golden crystals he successfully snatched earlier. Take these. You sure are generous. Lu Mu Yen knew that the heavenly frost golden crystal wouldn't be of much use to Ming Xiu now that he had the heavenly frost golden essence. So she wasn't polite and accepted it. With these heavenly frost golden crystals, she was now able to arm her close ones in the Lu clan from head to toe. A clear and sexy voice spilled from Ming Xiu's lips as an eyebrow was slightly raised, and he was stained with a devilish, amorous charm. Didn't you tamper with the heavenly frost golden crystal early on? Lu Mu Yen glared at him and raised an eyebrow, saying, "How could my little array fool you?" Yes, when the heavenly frost golden crystal was born, and when she froze the heavenly frost golden crystal, she added an array of spiritual energy condensation. If they didn't have her to crack it, even if others snatched it, they wouldn't be able to use it. Of course, she was certain that her array could be solved by Ming Xiu. This was just an instinctive feeling, and her intuition had always been very accurate. Ming Xiu carried a mysterious and noble temperament. She had seen people with this temperament back in the spirit world, on the people of the grand immortal cultivators clan, or on the proud children favored by the heavens. This man had an extraordinary background, and the force or story behind him might not just be a mere Ming Chamber of Commerce alliance. But Lu Mu Yen didn't intend to ask more. The more mysterious he was, the more challenging he was, wasn't it? This man, for her, could disregard danger and dive deep into the bottom of the lava pool. At the same time as making her heart tremble, there was also a recognition. Your knowledge in arrays is very deep. Although I can crack it, but I also need to use some means to do it. There was admiration in Ming Xiu's eyes. The little woman's attainments in arrays were even stronger than the enshrined array master in the 9 layers hall. Given time, when her cultivation base reached a certain level, She definitely would blossom in radiant splendor on Tianling continent. He would take her beneath his wings, but he wouldn't hinder her from flying freely. His woman didn't need to hide behind him. He knew that she wanted to stand with him shoulder to shoulder. His, Ming Xiu's woman, would naturally be the best. The stronger she was, the more he liked her. Lu Mu Yen smiled lightly and indifferently. Her mastery in arrays was stronger than her talent for alchemy. After she forms her nascent soul, she could then perform some of the other arrays and restrictions. By then, one would probably not be able to find any who could crack them on Tianling continent. Let's go out first. After staying in here for so long, I'm afraid that eldest brother and the others would be anxious. All right. Ming Xiu took a step towards Lu Mu Yen and held her in his arm. A layer of light blue water elemental energy shield enveloped the two of them. He tapped his foot and the two disappeared in this space. Chapter 126. The Ice Master that was cruelly toyed with in the cave where the heavenly frost golden crystal was born. Since Lu Mu Yen fell into the lava pool and Ming Xiu followed down, some things also happened. After the two disappeared, the two heavenly frost golden crystals in Yizhan and Lan Sis hands were being desired by the sword sovereign powerhouses. Towards Yizhan, many people were fearful. After all, although he was middle phase sword sovereign strength, but he had the strength of an advanced phase sword sovereign, his skills were unpredictable, and he had a transformation stage demon cultivator spirit pet, so there was no one who placed their ideas on him for the time being. Several sword sovereigns' eyes were all cast on Lan Si. One should squeeze the soft persimmons. Everyone understood this principle. Teacher Lan, with just your cultivation base, do you think you deserve a piece of heavenly frost golden crystal? Hand it over now and we'll spare your life. Xenbo Jian looked at Lan Si sinisterly, wanting to place all the debt from before on him. The eyes of the other sword sovereigns that were cast on Lan Si were all fierce. They couldn't touch Yizhan, but could they not even touch a mere sword monarch? So what if he was backed by Yanzhou Kingdom? They weren't afraid at all. Lan Si's handsome and elegant face wore a small smile, but there wasn't much warmth in his eyes. Yizhan, how about we make a deal? Lan Si didn't want to reveal his identity just yet, otherwise these sword sovereigns were just seeking death, so he telepathically asked Yizhan. Yizhan played with the flute in his hand and his eyes were indifferent. Speak. I'll give you this heavenly frost golden crystal right now, then I'll go find you to retrieve it after we exit the glacial mountain range. I'll give you a spiritual energy nourishing herb in exchange. Lan Si knew that Yizhan's demon pet needed a spiritual energy nourishing herb to have hope of breaking through to Tier 8. He had certainty that this man wouldn't refuse his request, and the value of the spiritual energy nourishing herb wasn't lower than that of the heavenly frost golden crystal. If it weren't for his own urgent need for the heavenly frost golden crystal, he wouldn't take it out to trade either. Of course, he wouldn't owe Yizhan a personal favorite with such a transaction either. Sure enough, hearing the words spiritual energy nourishing herb, there were some fluctuations in Yizhan's eyes. He said telepathically, without any hesitation, deal. Earlier, Lan Si suddenly broke out a strength no weaker than a sword sovereign, and Yizhan could feel that the other party had sealed some sort of power. If this person tore apart any pretenses and was left without any scruples, he dared believe that even he probably wouldn't be his opponent. Plus, he desperately needed the spiritual power nourishing herb, so with such a trade, he profited. Want my heavenly frost golden crystal? Sure. Lan Si took out the heavenly frost golden crystal and placed it in his hand, then scanned those with burning desire in their eyes, ready to make a move. Then he chuckled, but I admire Senior Yi more, so this piece of heavenly frost golden crystal, I'll gift it to him. After speaking, Lan Si didn't wait for others to snatch it from him and threw the heavenly frost golden crystal directly to Yizhan while he stepped to the side and stood with the students participating in the trial of Yanzhou Kingdom, watching the show. Others didn't expect Lan Si to make such a move, and while they resented him inwardly, they also stared at Yizhan. Yizhan wasn't polite either. After catching the heavenly frost golden crystal, he put it away, looking at the people with a smile that encompassed everything and said to them, If you want the heavenly frost golden crystal, then you can obtain it once you win me. There was a smile in his voice, but it made people feel a chill for no reason. The Shui clan sword sovereign snorted coldly and incited, "Let's go together. I don't believe that with so many of us, we can't beat him." "All right." The other sword sovereigns considered it for a moment, then gritted their teeth and agreed. Even if they failed to snatch it, Yi Zhan wouldn't kill them. Meanwhile, the two demon cultivators took the opportunity to dart out the cave. Whether the Ice Master was dead or alive was unknown, their two other companions were killed, and although they did want the heavenly frost golden crystal, but their life was even more important. Right now, those human cultivators had no time to bother with them in order to compete for the heavenly frost golden crystal. If they finished competing for it, they might just plan to take their demonic beast crystal cores, so it was better to leave early. After that, Yi Zhan didn't even release his spirit pet of the transformation stage, and only used 3 moves to shock the sword sovereigns into retreat. Before absolute power, all conspiracies and schemes were in vain. Having been uselessly optimistic, the sword sovereigns of the other clans hated Yi Zhan's dominance, but they couldn't do anything about him. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, the Yi clan was the second largest distinguished clan and was also a clan of spirit beast tamers. If they offended them, they'd be in absolute trouble. They could only leave here with their clan's pupils. As for Lu Mu Yen and Ming Xiu, in their eyes, they were already 2 dead people. Once stained with that scorching hot lava, those beneath Sword Venerable would definitely die. After the others left, Yi Zhan also forcibly took Yi Qing Han and Yi Qing Lu away. He guessed that Lu Mu Yen wasn't dead after seeing the attitude of the spirit pet Lu Mu Yen contracted, and Lan Si. Lan Si also guessed that Lu Mu Yen wasn't dead. In order to prevent others from having suspicions of him, they lingered for a day before he forced the Empire Academy's trial students to leave the cave, also with a heavy heart. In the end, only a small, white beast the size of a palm remained beside the edge of the lava pool, resting, waiting for his owner to return. 2 days later, Lu Mu Bai woke up and was already on the way to the Imperial capital. He was furious and wanted to go back to the glacial mountain range to find his younger sister. But the elemental energy in his body was emptied from summoning the blood spirit, and he received backlash, so he was made unconscious again by Lan Si and tossed back to the Lu clan. When Ming Xiu brought Lu Mu Yen out from the bottom of the lava pool, they saw that the entire cave was empty. "Emma Yen, where's my eldest brother?" As soon as Lu Mu Yen got out from Ming Xiu's embrace, the little white beast on the ground jumped onto her shoulder. Mo Yan's eyes were emotionless, but he let out a sigh of relief in his heart, then said slowly, "He was knocked unconscious and taken away by that teacher Lan of yours. The Yi clan's brother and sister, the Ling clan's brother and sister, your eldest brother, your elder cousin brother and the rest were all taken away forcibly." Seeing Lu Mu Yan's puzzled eyes, though Mo Yen seldom explained, but he added, "Lan Si telepathically told me that it was safer for you to return to the Lu clan by yourself after you come out. Yi Zhan also telepathically told me that their Yi clan welcomes you to come soon." Lu Mu Yen also figured out the purpose of their departure. Lan Si and the others were probably still afraid that those black-clothed people would return again to kill her. With even her eldest brother being taken away, it was to send a message to those people that she died in the lava. And if she wasn't dead, then Ming Xiu must be alive too, and with Ming Xiu's presence, she'd be safe. "They'll send you back to the general's mansion of Yanzhou Kingdom." Ming Xiu clearly worried about Lu Mu Yen returning alone. Lu Mu Yan's eyes gleamed like the reflection of waves in the sunlight, and chuckled gracefully, "You're that free? I'm very busy, but am willing to waste this time for you." Ming Xiu's lips curled into a devilishly charming smile. "Up to you." Lu Mu Yen lifted her chin slightly with a little tsundere appearance, and seeing that made Ming Xiu have the urge to pull her over and kiss her immediately. He calmed his mind slowly, then tossed a big cyan blue bird that was more than 3 meters long from his spirit pet bangle onto the floor. The big cyan blue bird originally had gorgeous feathers, but they were now unbearably messy. The crown on the top of its head was slanted, the longest, most beautiful tail feathers had obviously been plucked, and there was a golden collar around its beak. His eyes were watery and misty, and they seemed as pitiful as it got. Lu Mu Yen looked at the ice master that had been cruelly toyed with, and the corner of her lips couldn't help but twitch. Didn't he say he'd take Ming Xiu back to be the mistress of his fort one? One commonly said by bandits, at least bandits in books or shows, when they see a beauty. In this case, the ice master never said it like that, but Lu Mu Yen basically linked his actions to a sleazy bandit. Random note 1. Woo. School holidays. Anyways, I'll use this week to stock up on some translated chapters and then most likely start updating 2 chapters a day starting next Monday. Alrighty-o, back to translating. Random note 2. Also, based on its Cyberpanditing's Wheat suggestion, I considered it and thought to make a Discord server just to see how it goes. I think Discord is the most suitable after some thought. Hey, race the link if anyone's interested. https://discord. GG/. I hope that link works. Seeing as it's new to me, I haven't thought about the details, but I guess MWIT will be the focus, and when I release other translations, we'll talk about those too, etc. I guess just translation-related stuff. We can even complain about common tropes if we wish, and other novel stuff maybe. Recommendations are fine, but preferably similar types to Maiwada. Mainly because there are already FB groups and Reddit groups out there that I've found and joined with recommendation functions you can use that are quite handy, so maybe recommendations will remain similar feel story to Maiwada, or with similar but not often seen tros. Questions are welcome OFC. For people with common interests. Anyways, you'll see how that all goes first. Thanks for reading. Lu Mu Yen blinked and looked at the ice one that was too tragic to look at. Wasn't he abused a bit too miserably by Ming Xiu? This Tier 8 Demon Cultivator Ice Master was taken care of by you just like that? Ming Xiu glanced at the big bird coldly and the ice one couldn't help but shudder. Then he said, "Who told him to have a cheap mouth? To think he dared to have ideas about him. It was already kind that he didn't cut off the possibility for this stinky bird to have children and grandchildren." The ice master shrank his neck. The eyes of that beautiful human man were too sharp. Could he say that he didn't dare to have any inordinate thoughts about him anymore? Pfft. Lu Mu Yen couldn't help laughing as she watched the ice Luan's miserable appearance and that pair of innocent-looking eyes. The ice Luan found himself being ridiculed by a weak human woman and couldn't help but glare at her fiercely. His mouth was bound by a golden ring so he couldn't speak, but he cursed her in his heart. "Woman, what are you laughing at? Lousy one lost because of carelessness." Except where did the ice Luan, at this time, still have any of the appearance as a descendant of divine beasts? The look in his fierce eyes paired with the messy feathers were as funny as it got. Ha! Lu Mu Yen wasn't frightened by the ice master's eyes at all, and instead burst into laughter. Ming Xiu watched the little woman smile like a flower, and a gentle smile couldn't help but also rise on his face. He raised an eyebrow and looked at the ice Luan on the ground, having an idea. This ice Luan was gay, and Lu Mu Yen just happened to lack a flying mount. It was perfect that the ice Luan wouldn't have any ideas about the little woman, so a contract was plausible. "Woman, how about I gift him to you as a flying mount?" Ming Xiu approached Lu Mu Yen and her faint fragrance of medicine wafted around his nose, refreshing. Lu Mu Yen was stunned for a moment. Seeing Ming Xiu point to the ice Luan on the ground and determine where he belonged just like that, she couldn't help but light a candle for the ice master who could once do as he pleased in this glacial mountain range. Wanting wind and wind will come, wanting rain and rain would arrive too. The ice Luan's eyes widened. What? This damned man wanted him to be the flying mount of this weak woman. Just let him die once first. Lu Mu Yen walked to the ice Luan's side and tugged the self-made crown on his head, with a hit of disgust in her eyes. "I do lack a flying mount, but isn't this ice Luan too ugly?" The ice Luan choked on anger. This woman was as annoying as that perverted beautiful man. He, the ice master, was just fathomsome and unparalleled, was refined and carried himself with a natural poise, so how could he be linked with ugliness? "Could you have some standards when appreciating, please?" Ming Xiu nodded in agreement. "Indeed a bit ugly, but there's no other suitable one. Just may do for now, and when we catch a better flying demonic beast, well swap. You pay for. The ice master almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Where was he ugly? And he was an authentic descendant of divine beasts. Where could they go to find a better flying demonic beast? These two people actually spoke about the issue of contracting with such disgust. He truly wanted to cry, but there were no tears. Could you ask his opinion first? Oh well, it's fine to be ugly, but just look at his gaze. It sure doesn't look like he's willing to make a contract with me. Lu Mu Yen raised an eyebrow as she looked at the ice luan on the ground, which had absolutely no proper appearance to speak of, thinking it funny. Ming Xiu's eyes sharpened and the cold knife in his eyes was thrown directly at the ice luan, then be threatened telepathically into his sea of consciousness. It's your blessing to be my woman's flying mount. Think about what to do yourself. If you don't agree, I won't force it either. The ice master felt despair when he heard the first half of his words, but when he heard the last part, his eyes instantly lit up. So this beautiful man wasn't actuality that bad. But who knew that Ming Xiu's next sentence would completely shatter all his illusions? Of course, you can be a eunuch bird from now on. The ice luan's lower half couldn't help but tighten. He only just wanted to tease this man a little because he looked rather handsome, but who knew he'd be deeply trapped in this sort of prison? It truly was a beauty messes up a bird. Hey, it's a beauty messes up a divine beast. As if he wanted to be a eunuch bird. This perverted man felt as if he had the bloodline of a true dragon in him. Words said in such a domineering style usually meant he wouldn't change his mind. If he didn't form a contract with this woman, he probably really wouldn't be able to give birth to offspring anymore. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. His eyes rolled around, thinking, then he looked up at the little white beast on Lu Mu Yan's shoulder. Who knew that with just a simple glimpse, the pressure of the aura of a royal species would assault him, and a cold voice echoed in his sea of consciousness, "Little ice bird, do you believe that this king would dig your eyes out?" A gay demonic beast was also an eyesore to him. There was a sting of pain in the ice luan's sea of consciousness, and after regaining his calm, he secretly took a look at Mo Yen in fear. What kind of fire cloud mink was this demonic beast? He was obviously a spirit devourer of a royal species. According to his inherited memories, although the spirit devourer wasn't a divine beast, but they were a part of those that had it easiest in becoming a true spirit demonic beast. Out of the many demonic beast species, it was also in existence many demonic beasts looked up to. He sure didn't expect to see a royal species demonic beast with a purer bloodline than even him. The most important thing was that this being who addressed himself as this king, and although was weak in strength, but his pressure made him scared, actually recognized that woman as his master. It truly was unbelievable for him. Why did you become that woman's spirit pet? The ice master couldn't resist asking telepathically for his own future prospects. Didn't they say that spirit devourers were even more prideful than a true dragon and phoenix? Why did he contract a weak human then? He simply couldn't figure it out. Mo Yen was originally too lazy to answer the ice luan's question, but remembering that Lu Mu Yen should indeed have a flying mount, and although this ice luan was just the cyan luan and fire phoenix's descendant, but its bloodline was still rather authentic, so he was barely qualified to contract the same master as him. She's still weak now, but one day shall soar into the sky and become an existence that others could only look up to and cannot be reached. Mo Yan's voice carried a sense of affirmation in the indifference. After seeing so many surprises and trump cards of Lu Mu Yen, and with the thousands of years of experience he's had, this woman's future achievements would certainly not be meek, and his choice couldn't be wrong. The ice luan was startled when he heard Mo Yan's telepathic words. The spirit devourer was just that optimistic about that woman? He cast his gaze to Lu Mu Yen and took a good look. Before, because the woman was young, he didn't pay much attention, but now that he looked closely, she was actually a really beautiful woman. Since she had such a gorgeous appearance now, once she grew up, she'd definitely fit the saying one look back with a smile gives birth to thousands of types of charm and would definitely be beautiful enough to cause the downfall of a country. In actual fact, he wasn't gay. He just liked to tease beautiful men and women, and even more so towards beautiful men that were nourishing to the eye. Yet who knew which son of a bitch spread the rumor that he was gay, and now just randomly teasing a beautiful man caused him to be beaten beyond recognition. Was it easy for him? Was it? Have you made a decision? Ming Xiu saw the eyes of the Ice Luan look here and there, and even moved his gaze onto Lu Mu Yen, so he asked grimly. The Ice Luan had a carefree nature, and had long tossed away his moral integrities, so he immediately resigned himself to fate and nodded, "I'll regard her as my master." He also wanted to visit the human world to have a look. The master who was even chosen by the spirit devourer shouldn't be too bad, otherwise even if he had to risk being a eunuch, he wouldn't succumb. Of course, if the woman wanted to order him around right now, then it wouldn't be so easy. Without strength and ability higher than him, he wouldn't obey from the bottom of his heart. As a result, Lu Mu Yen didn't even get to use the methods of enticement to kidnap and threats that she had originally prepared, and the one human one beast had already helped settle a high-level flying mount for her. A drop of blood fell on the middle of the Ice Luan's brows. Lu Mu Yen formed a few Taoist seals, forming a contract seal mark, and a difficult, obscure incantation poured out from her mouth. Immediately, a soft, jade-colored light shone brightly, instantly enveloping her and the Ice Luan, lasting an incense stick of time. When the light curtain dissipated, the contract of equals was formed, and Lu Mu Yen and the Ice Luan also had a connection between their hearts. One lousy technically translates to your father, but in this case, considering its usage in another novel of this author's translating it to your father is just weird. It's an arrogant way of saying I, used often by men. I'm going to keep it as it is. 2a saying meaning to get what you want whenever you want it. 3 here, perverted just means abnormal / twisting logic etc. 4p is used to indicate spitting. Usually used when you hear something unlucky or you don't like what you hear, or even what you, yourself had accidentally said, and you just spit on it, hoping whatever was said doesn't happen. Kind of like knocking on wood. Chapter 128. The Ice Luan that overturned the understanding of his appearance after the jade-colored light curtain dissipated. Lu Mu Yen and the Ice Luan was successfully contracted. Lu Mu Yan's contract of equals belonged as an ancient spell, so after the contract was completed, the Ice Luan's body shone with a cyan blue color. Not long after, all the injuries he had suffered from Ming Xiu were recovered, and the feathers on his body were brighter than before. Even the few tail feathers that had been plucked grew out. He narcissistically wanted to use his mouth to comb the beautiful tail feathers but found that there was still a golden ring around his mouth. He looked at Lu Mu Yen aggrievedly and telepathically said, "Beauty, I still have your man's thing on my mouth, can you tell him to take it away?" Lu Mu Yen couldn't resist twitching the corners of her lips. She slapped the Ice Luan on the head. "Speak properly, no wonder you owe some punishment." This bird's mouth was indeed cheap. Even she had the urge to beat him up. However, this stinky bird had now become her flying spirit pet, so she naturally had to take care of it more or less. So she asked Ming Xiu with a smile, "Can the golden ring on his mouth be removed?" Ming Xiu glanced at the Ice Luan as a warning, and with a move of 2 of his fingers, the golden ring around the beak disappeared in thin air. Then Lu Mu Yen found that there was an extra palm-sized golden bangle in her hand. When this stinky bird's mouth is cheap, hoop it around it. When Ming Xiu turned his head to talk to Lu Mu Yen, his eyes were filled with doting. Lu Mu Yen couldn't help but smile as she pursed her lips and nodded, "All right." The Ice Luan rolled his eyes at the two. Neither the man nor woman were benevolent. Just how unlucky did he have to be become this woman's spirit pet? Seeing the Ice Luan getting up and shaking its feathers in an ostentatious manner, Ming Xiu's eyes sank. He chanted a hex in his mouth, then used his elemental energy to draw a void talisman in the air, and a transparent, rune golden dragon flew into the air before instantly entering into the Ice Luan's body. The Ice Luan that was just stretching froze on the spot, and found that more than half of his demonic energy was actually sealed by this beautiful man. He glared his little eyes at Ming Xiu angrily and said in the human language, "What tray you doing sealing my demonic energy?" There are two reasons for why I sealed your demonic energy. One is to prevent you from relying on your current strength and not listen to Lu Muyan's words, and two is to prevent Lu Muyan from relying on your combat power in everything. After Ming Xiu and the Ice Luan finished talking, he looked at Lu Muyan affectionately. I sealed most of the demonic energy in his body. He now only has the strength of a Tier 6 demonic beast. If you don't encounter a life or death situation, he wouldn't be able to break the seal. Lu Muyan knew Ming Xiu's deeper meaning. He was afraid that after contracting a Tier 8 strength spirit pet, she'd rely on it too much and delay her cultivation. She was moved by this man's attentiveness. There was a smile between her brows. That's perfect. She also didn't want to rely on the Ice Luan's power to grow up. Without experiencing wind and rain, how could one see a rainbow? The Ice Luan listened to the conversation between the two, and his entire bird was exceptionally uncomfortable now. Didn't being trapped at Tier 6 demonic beast cultivation base mean that he wouldn't even be able to transform into the human form? Unreconciled, he tried to mobilize the demonic energy in his Yaofu, but he finally miserably discovered that he indeed could no longer transform into the human form. How can I transform when you suppressed my cultivation base to a Tier 6 demonic beast? The Ice Luan yelled in dissatisfaction. Ming Xiu's lips raised in an arc, as if he'd let this ostentatious stinky bird transform into the human form and circle Lu Muyan all day. Even if he knew that he was gay, he still wouldn't allow it. Your job is to act as a flying mount. Why do you need to transform into the human form? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. There was a sharp cold light in Ming Xiu's eyes, making the Ice Luan who wanted to refute immediately shut up. Although this man's cultivation base wasn't as high as him, but he had too many methods, and his combat power was alarming, especially that true dragon aura on his body that made him even more fearful. He decided not to provoke this pervert for the time being. In the future, after coaxing little Master well, as if he'd still need to be afraid that this man wouldn't lift the seal for him? Lu Muyan watched in amusement as Ming Xiu oppressed her spirit pet but didn't stop him. This bird's personality, compared to the appearance after transforming, completely overturned her understanding. What elegant, bookish aura, so it was all just a pretense. What's your name? Lu Muyan asked, raising her eyes to look at the Ice Luan. She couldn't always call him Ice Master or Ice Luan right. The Ice Luan wanted to rub his head on the little master's shoulder, but was stopped by Ming Xiu, who extended a hand. He could only purse his mouth and said, Master, I'm called Bing Ji. Lu Muyan felt that this name wasn't that bad, so she didn't help make a nickname. Let's set off and go back. Lu Muyan was in a good mood after contracting a high-level flying mount, but she was still a little worried about whether her family would be so anxious that they'd flip the sky because of her. Ming Xiu nodded. He also had some important things to do. Sure. And so, the two stepped onto Bing Ji's back, and he spread his wings, flying both of them towards the direction of the imperial capital of Yanzhou Kingdom. Imperial capital, Yanzhou Kingdom. After the news of Lu Muyan's death in the glacial mountain range was spread by scheming people deliberately, it was known by everyone. The Gu clan and the Lu clan's political opponents were all watching them as a joke in secret. As everyone knew, whether it was when Lu Muyan was still a trash, or whether it was after she eradicated her terminal meridian's constitution and displayed her exceptional talents, she was still the treasure that the Lu clan held in their palms and loved dearly. Marshal Lao's 3 sons and 1 daughter all gave birth to sons, and Lu Muyan was the only granddaughter, so no matter who in the Lu clan, from old to young, they all regarded her as a treasure. Now that the news that Lu Muyan was unfortunately buried in the lava pool was spread, it caused a mighty uproar in the Lu clan and even the entire imperial capital. Lu Mubai was still in a coma when he was sent back to the Lu clan. He had used a trace of his origin energy and received backlash from the spell, plus the fact that Lan Si didn't want to add frost to snow, so he made him faint. It would take at least 5 more days for him to wake up. Lan Si, where's my family's yener? Lu Zhantian looked at Lan Si coldly with a tense expression. If the rumors were true, he'd definitely go tear off the roof of Empire Academy and the Imperial Palace. If it weren't that Lu Muyan's soul tablet was still completely intact in the Ancestral Hall, they wouldn't have been able to bear it and would have killed their way into the Imperial Palace to find the Imperial teacher and Ruanli to settle their debts. Seeing the nervousness on the faces of Marshal Lu and the Lu Mou married couple, Lan Si didn't keep them guessing and immediately told them what had happened in the glacial mountain range. Lu Mou pondered for a bit, then looked at Lan Si, his eyes solemn. "You mean to say that Yenner didn't die after falling into the lava pool? That Monarch Ming will rescue her, and your purpose of rushing back is just to draw out that secret force in the darkness?" His clear and handsome face was exceptionally calm, but a layer of killing intent condensed in his heart. Since those people dared to touch their family's treasure, then they must be prepared to deal with their Lu clan's revenge. Lan Si took a sip of tea in his teacup and nodded. Those who want to kill Lu Muyen are obviously similar to sacrificial soldiers. In order for them to complete their mission, they would fight with their lives without hesitation. That entity is very mysterious, and it's definitely not like something that the Empire could raise. According to your opinion, that wave of people who attempted to assassinate Yenner might be an entity of another kingdom? Lu Zhantian's brows furrowed tightly. If this were the case, then things would become more complicated. If those who attempted to assassinate his family's Yenner were sacrificial soldiers sent by another kingdom's entity, then it also meant that this attack wasn't aimed mainly at Lu Muyen, but the entire Lu clan. The implied meanings behind this were worth pondering. Chapter 129. Lu Muyan's dead? The news that Lan Si brought made the Lu clan's father and son fall into deep thought. Have you investigated the force that attempted to assassinate Yenner? Lu Zhantian asked. Lan Si slid his fingertip over the rim of the teacup and after a long pause, he replied, "I suspect that there are influential officials of the Empire who colluded with other kingdoms' powers. After all, Lu Xiang and Hu Fei taking action against Lu Muyen meant that they should be chess pieces buried in Yanzhou Kingdom by that force." Lu Mou tapped his fingers irregularly on the table. Lan Si's words were exactly what they had guessed. If they followed this clue, then the Gu clan was most suspicious. Lan Si, now our main concern is when my family's Yenner could safely return. Lu Mou temporarily put aside the complex affairs of the kingdom. What he worried most about now was the safety of his treasured daughter. Ling Yuzin's beautiful face was filled with worries, and there was a haze in her eyes. "If any misfortune befalls my daughter, your Empire Academy won't be removed from the responsibility either. After all, that person named Hu Fei is your trial instructor this time. If anything happened to her baby girl, she must make the Empire Academy pay the price." To begin with, she didn't approve of Yenner going to the glacial mountain range for some trial. If it weren't that the principal found her husband to discuss the details and guaranteed Yenner's safety, how could she put her daughter in that kind of danger? Lan Si also knew that this time Lu Muyen being knocked into the lava pond by Hu Fei was also the Academy's responsibility. If it weren't for Monarch Ming taking action to kill Hu Fei, he would have wanted to tear his body into thousands of pieces too. Originally, he was just left as bait for fishing, but who knew he turned out to be a scourge in the end? This was also a lesson to be learned. Don't worry. I can guarantee that Lu Muyen will be fine. With the strength of Monarch Ming, he probably already found Lu Muyen. If even then she died, then Monarch Ming needn't bother living. Despite hearing such assurance from Lan Si, the hearts of those in the Lu clan were still not at ease. Now, Ling Yuxin always carried the soul tablet, which had Lu Muyan's soul energy within it, everywhere. Only when the soul tablet was intact could they temporarily feel relieved. In a beautiful, imposing, and majestic mansion in the Imperial capital, Gu Yenran played chess with Gu Yuankai in the study, when a black-clothed man suddenly appeared in the room on one knee. Gu Yuankai stared at the chess game without lifting his eyelids and asked, "Is Lu Muyen really dead?" The man in black replied respectfully, "This subordinate has discovered what happened that day. If there's no accident, then Lu Muyen would definitely have died." Then he revealed the news that he inquired about, And he didn't hide the fact that Monarch Ming went into the lava to search for Lu Muyen. Gu Yenran's originally gentle and pleasant temperament had already undergone earth-shaking changes. There was always a lingering haze on her face, unable to be rid of, her face was pale, and her entire person looked gloomy and depressive. Hearing that the masked man in red who rescued Lu Muyen at the auction last time disregarded his life and jumped into the lava to look for her, the jealousy in Gu Yenran's eyes appeared as if it were about to erupt. She gritted her teeth and said bitterly, "That woman's just a vixen. This way of death is too easy on her." Gu Yenran wasn't reconciled. In her heart, she didn't want Lu Muyen to die like this. It wasn't pity, but instead, the hatred in her heart made her want to torture Lu Muyen to death with her own hands. Gu Yuankai placed a black chess piece on the board, his face calm, and his voice was stern. "Yenran, you lost." Gu Yenran looked down at the chessboard, feeling even more annoyed. Her expression was full of grievance. Daughter really can't swallow this anger. Now that her dantian was destroyed by Lu Muyen, and her entire cultivation base was useless, she would be gloated about and looked at with contempt and sympathy if she went outside. How she hated! Once she was the most dazzling pearl in the freshman class of the Empire Academy. Lu Muyen was just a trash grit that chased after Qi Xian. Now she also tasted what it felt like to become trash, but it also made her feel even more resentful against Lu Muyen. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, Yenran, that person already promised to repair your dantian after the matter's done. The loss of your cultivation base is only temporary. Lu Muyen is also just a touchstone for you to grow into a strong person. You shouldn't accumulate too much resentment against her, otherwise you'll definitely be troubled by heart demons in the future. Gu Yuankai was a clear-headed and rational person. He didn't agree with his daughter's endless hatred towards Lu Muyen. If a heart demon appeared, then it'd be exceptionally difficult in the future to advance to a high-level sword master. Gu Yenran also knew that what her dad said was truth, but the long-standing grievances had already been buried in her, so how could it be resolved? Unless she personally killed Lu Muyen, then could her hatred be dispelled? Dad, when that time comes, I want to massacre the Lu clan with my own hands. A ruthless look flashed in Gu Yenran's eyes. Even if Lu Muyen died, she'd also make the Lu clan pay the price by having their entire clan exterminated. Gu Yuankai not only didn't feel frightened by Gu Yenran's cruelty but was instead very gratified. This was right. This was the daughter he had carefully nurtured. Alright, I'll let you personally exterminate the entire Lu clan when that time comes. The next day, Lu Zhantian took Lu Mou into the palace to find the emperor and the imperial teacher to settle their debts, and also personally led people to smash the Empire Academy's inscribed boards. Afterwards, the door of the Lu clan remained closed and there was a faint sound of crying that came from within. This also confirmed the news that Lu Muyen had died in the glacial mountain range. In addition to those who gloated and watched the good show, there were also some people who sympathized and felt sorry about it. The Lu clan's father and son did this as they wanted to let the secret forces in the dark relax their vigilance and lure the snake out of the cave. As if they would tolerate venomous snakes on the bed, spying from the darkness one. Failure to remove them wasn't only harmful to the Lu clan, but also to the entire empire. A secret room in the Imperial Palace. A middle-aged man in a purple robe sat on the main seat, and the Emperor Yun Tianchen and Imperial teacher Yun Song sat beneath him with respectful expressions. The man held a string of Buddhist beads in his hand. Each black bead was very smooth, and could be seen that it was caused by frequent rubbing. Lu Muyen is really dead? According to the current information, she should be dead. Yun Song sighed. It was a pity for such a good seedling that was Lu Muyen. He originally even wanted Wan Li to focus on raising her. Yun Tianchen was silent for a while and said, "I feel that Lu Muyen may not be dead." Hearing what the emperor said, the purple-clothed man's expressionless face displayed a bit of interest. "Why do you say so?" I found that the Lu clan's reaction to the news of Lu Muyen's death appeared normal on the surface, but there's just something that feels wrong. Yun Tianchen paused, then continued to say, I know that all the descendants of the Lu clan's main bloodline have a soul tablet. You would know whether one's dead or not by looking at the soul tablet, so whether Lu Muyen was dead or not after falling into the lava pool, the Lu clan would know the clearest. Coming to the Imperial Palace to cause trouble and smashing the Empire Academy's inscribed board, although it appeared to be venting, but based on my understanding of the Marshal and General Lu, if the Lu girl really died, then they would definitely have already done something crazy long ago, and not just touched the surface of things. Yun Song furrowed his brows and asked, "You mean to say they did it for others to see?" "Indeed. Let alone the Lu clan's fear of that hidden power, even our Imperial family must also find the power that will secretly endanger Yanzhou Kingdom." Yun Tianchen nodded. The middle-aged man in purple chuckled lightly, and his eyes that looked at Yun Tianchen carried a rare hint of admiration. "Indeed. The Lu clan is indeed pretending. That old little kid Lu Zhantian already came to find this eminence too to discuss this. One I think it's a play on, how could one tolerate people snoring by their side on the bed? Also meaning, how could one tolerate others encroaching on own territory? Similar idea, how could one allow snakes to encroach their territory? Too honestly, Chinese people and their love of addressing themselves with their own titles instead of me/I to show their status, like, this highness used by Ming Xiu, this monarch used by Bing Ji, now used by this person Elo. I even considered this magnificence to translate, but that's just too much now, huh? Honestly, I'm just randomly assigning a word to them now. XD after translating, to sword venerable, I even considered changing to this venerable, but even when the same word is used, sometimes it might have slightly different connotations, so I left it. Plus I wasn't bothered, huh? Now, I just remembered that there's still Your Excellency that I haven't used. Who should I use that for next? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.